Hello all, good morning and welcome to another episode of certificate preparation. This one is for PL-100, which is Microsoft Power Platform App Maker. So for example, if you have been developing or making apps for your organization, for yourself, definitely this session has got something for you. And then again, this is overview session for the Microsoft examination, which is PL-100. Okay. So this Power Platform empowers everyone to build low code as well as no code solutions for your organizations. So we can take benefits of various capabilities, including we can create apps which are based on Canvas app or model driven apps, or even we can create flows or Power Automate flows through which we'll be able to automate our business processes. And then again, we can create the Power BI reports so that we can visualize the data in a better representable manner. At the same time, even there are other capabilities like Power Virtual Agent, which is a chatbot through which we'll be able to create a simple chatbots without writing any line of code, as well as we can have the AI builder kind of an capabilities included as a part of Power Platform. All right. So before we start the session, quick introduction. Myself, Nanddeep Nachan. I am Microsoft MVP for Office Apps and Services, Microsoft Certified Trainer. Mostly, I work on SharePoint, Office 65, including Power Platform as well as Microsoft Azure. And then I'm author of a couple of books on SharePoint framework as well as SharePoint Hybrid with SharePoint 2019. And on to the right hand side, here are a few of the social handlers, including my email, LinkedIn, Twitter, or my blog site. So if you want to get in touch with me. And with me today is Smita.
Hello all, I am Smita Nachan. I am from Pune, India. I am a Microsoft MVP and Microsoft MCD, and I'm author of one book. And these are some of my social handles by which you can just get in touch with me.
All right, so the agenda for this session is like we will have an overview of this exam, what this exam exactly covers, what are the skills those are measured onto this particular exam, and then again we will deep dive into each of those concepts. Okay, so again this is an overview kind of a session which will enable you to get prepared for PL100, but as and when you will keep more keep doing more of on yourself by hands on, it will definitely help you to clear the exam as well as build beautiful applications for your organization. Okay, so quickly have a look at the exam overview of PL100. So the PL100 outline includes firstly the creating the Canvas apps in Power Apps. So we will see the introduction to that Power Apps, what is mean by Power Apps, how we can create those Canvas apps, and then how we can as well customize those apps, and as well how we can manage as well as distribute those apps. Secondly, it covers the UI and controls in Canvas app, so which provides the best app navigation, because whenever we will create the Canvas app, probably we'll be creating multiple screens, and then how we can create a navigation between those multiple screen. At the same time, how we can make use of the built-in UI capabilities like themes, icon, images, personalization, and other few of the controls. Thirdly, it also majorly covers creating the model-driven applications. So we can create the model-driven apps in Power Apps, which uses mainly the CDS, but now that we should not refer to as a CDS or common data service, we should refer to it as a Microsoft Dataverse. And then we will see like how we can automate the business process using Power Automate, how we can build as well as administer all of those workflows. Then we will see like how we can create and use analytics report with Power BI so that we can transform our data into the more human readable, acknowledgeable kind of an information. And then we will look into the AI builder. So through which we will be able to build our own AI model, as well as we'll be able to make a use of out of the box AI models available from Microsoft, and then use those in our business without writing any single line of code. Even we will go further, we will see what is mean by Center of Excellence, COE, as well as how we can create those data loss prevention or DLP kind of an policies, right? So quickly coming to the exam, like what type of questions that you will be asked onto the exam. So it will include single choice kind of an question wherein you will be presented with one question and then with few of the options, out of which only one option will be correct, and you will have to select the correct one. Then again, there will be a multiple choice of questions, maybe more than one choice there is correct. You will have to select those. And again, drag and drop kind of questions, like for example, if you have been asked to create some kind of a scenario, then in what kind of an fashion or what kind of an action that you will take to fulfill that scenario. So it will be just a simple drag and drop kind of a thing. And then again, there will be some kind of a scenario based question wherein you will be presented with one scenario, and the answer to it will be just yes or no based on the solution proposed. And then definitely there will be case study wherein you will be presented with some kind of a customer who is trying to create their applications using Power Platform, and then what are the technical requirements of that customer, business requirements, and then based on that there will be few questions. Okay, so at least even I don't exactly remember the number of questions I had on PL-100, but you can say that probably it could be in the range of 40 to 60 somewhere. Okay, and then again, there will be ample amount of time available for you to appear for this exam. At least, I guess it is a couple of hours that you can take, but including the survey at the end, the commenting and all those things, consider having at least 3 hours of time in your hand to get started with your exam. Then again, best way to prepare for this exam is obviously the Microsoft Learn modules. So if you navigate to this particular URL, docs.microsoft.com, for the Learn certificates for the exam PL-100, there you will be able to see all of the modules which covers in-depth content of this PL-100. At the same time, the presentation that we are going to do today, it is entirely based on the Microsoft Learn modules. Most of the content as well as the examples, demos that you will see in this particular session are from the Microsoft Learn module. Okay. Uh, Whenever we start with the discussion of Power Platform, I always like to start the presentation with this diagram, because this is a simple diagram which represents what are the features as well as applications that we have inside Microsoft Power Platform. So again, Microsoft Power Platform, it help you to build the low code or no code kind of solutions for your organization, so that we can take benefits of various capabilities, including Power BI, through which we'll be able to create the reports, or we'll be able to better represent our information. Then we do have Power Apps for the application development. If in case you want to create the apps for your organization, so we'll see like what kind of an apps that we can create here. Thirdly, that we can use Power Automate to automate your business processes or carry out any kind of an automation. So you can leave out all those paper-based automation for paper-based workflows or approvals, and you can directly go into the digitization of all those processes. Fourthly, we have this Power Virtual Agent, which is nothing but a chatbot, because when it comes to the chatbot, always it needs some kind of an coding background. But with this Power Virtual Agent, it will be very much simple, just few clicks, and then you will be ready with your Power Virtual Agent. Then on to the feature sides of it, we do have various connectors available through which we'll be able to connect to various systems. So it could be on-premises system, it could be the online system, or even it could be any of the data which is inside Microsoft based services, or even it could be non-Microsoft based services, including Google or Box, Dropbox, anything of that sort. And then we do have capabilities from AI Builder, through which not just that we will be able to create the application, but we will be able to bake in some kind of an AI into our applications. And then obviously we have Dataverse, through which Dataverse we will be able to use it as a backend for our all of the applications. All right, so this gives the clear picture, like what are the features as well as the components that we have inside those solutions. Okay, so with that, let's start with how we can create the Canvas app inside Power Apps.
The Power Platform empowers everyone to build low code or no code solutions for the organizations. So we can take up benefits of various capabilities. So Power Apps is a suite of apps, services, and connectors and a data platform that provides you with an opportunity to build custom apps for your business needs. So by using a Power App, you can quickly build custom business apps that connect to your business data that is stored either in your underlying data platform, Microsoft Dataverse, or in a various online and on-premises data sources like SharePoint, Excel, Office 65, Dynamics 65, SQL Server, and so on. Sorry, but someone is on unmute, so can you please mute? So apps that are built by using a Power Apps provide a rich business logic and workflow capabilities to transform your manual business processes to digital automated processes. And Power Apps simplifies the custom business app building experience by enabling users to build feature-rich apps without writing the code. So Power Apps also provides an extensible platform that lets pro developers programmatically interact with data and metadata, apply business logic, create custom connectors, and integrate with external data. So now let's see Power Apps building blocks. So Power Apps is a collection of services, apps, and connectors that work together to let you do much more than just view your data. So you can act on your data and update it anywhere and from any device. So first one is a Power Apps homepage. So apps start here where you build them from data, a sample app or a blank screen. Then we have a Power Apps Studio. So you can develop your apps further by connecting to data, adding and arranging user interface, that is a UI elements known as a controls, and building formulas. Then we have a Power Apps mobile. So you can run your apps on Microsoft Windows, Apple iOS, and Google Android devices, and a Power Apps admin center that manage Power Apps environments and other components.
Right. So with that, let's see like how we can quickly create a simple app using Canvas app in Power Apps. All right. So through which will be we will take a scenario wherein let's say our data is inside OneDrive for business in the form of an Excel, and then how we can quickly create that app or the model driven sorry canvas driven app through which we'll be able to present that information in a simple clicks format. So let me go back to my Power Apps portal, which is make.powerapps.com. Before that, I will quickly go to this OneDrive. In this OneDrive, I created one folder called as Power Apps, and inside this folder, we have one file called as flooring estimates. So it is just the file which we want to project inside our Canvas app, and then want to present this particular data in a Canvas app, so that it won't be just the data, but it will be kind of an CRUD operations that we will carry out here. So if you have a look at this particular file, this has got various columns, or even we can say it as an attribute for that particular flooring estimates. So we have got a name, category, price, image of that particular flooring, and then again overview. So it is just kind of a simple description. Okay, so we have this kind of an information with us. So let's see like how we can use this kind of information to quickly build the Canvas app. So whenever we start with Canvas app, we have various ways through which we'll be able to start designing our Canvas app. So either we can start from the data. So we have various connectors available through which we'll be able to connect and get the data. So for example, we have a SharePoint, Exchange Online, SQL Server, Dataverse, and many more. At the at the same time, we do have some capabilities through which we'll be able to create those canvas app from blank. So that means we will start with blank canvas and then we'll be able to build the application. But for this particular example, now that we know that specifically our data source is in OneDrive, so I will go ahead with other data sources, and here we will build a connection to OneDrive. So I think I already have a connection here created for OneDrive. But if you want to create a connection, you can just click on new connection and then you can get authenticated to that particular service. And then there will be a connection available to you. So from here, you can see that we have one connection for OneDrive for business. We will select it. And now that it will show us the entire thing that we have inside our OneDrive for business. So as I said, we have our file stored inside this Power Apps folder. We'll go there and then we'll select that file. Once we select the file, it will give us all of the tables which are available there. So this is a table that we saw, which was available into our Excel. We will select that and click on connect at this right hand bottom corner. Once we connect, it will read out that particular information into a Power Apps, and then it will present us with some kind of an forms through which we'll be able to play around with that information in in a Power Apps. So let me just zoom in a bit, and then you will be able to see that we already have our content. At the same time, we have at least three screens available, which is this browse screen through which this gives some kind of a gallery of information about this particular data source, which is Excel file in OneDrive for Business. Then we have a detail screen which will give us the detail of each of the entry or each of the item that we have inside that particular Excel. And as we click them, and again we do have an edit screen. Obviously, it is for the editing purpose, and then through which we will be able to make a changes to our data. All right. So let's start with this browse screen. I will not make any edits here, but I will just click on this play icon or preview so that we'll be able to see that. So now that you can see that I did not write any single line of code, and just within 1 or 2 minutes we have this app ready. So from here we are able to browse the entire information that we have inside our Excel, and then as I click through that particular information, uh, I'm taken to this detail screen wherein we are presented with the more information about this particular item that we have selected. Same time we can click on this delete item, and this particular item will be deleted from the data source, which is our Excel residing in OneDrive for Business. Again, for example, if we click on this edit item, we'll be able to make a edit. So let's say I just call it here 123. And then once we click on this save button or submit item, that particular data will get reflected into the Excel as well. So now, for example, if I again go back here, you will be able to see that this particular item has been updated just few seconds ago, which is the edit that we have done from our Canvas app. So now that, for example, this was the out of the box look and feel of this Canvas app. If you want to go further, customize it, then you can select this browse gallery, and here we have various layouts. So depending on what kind of a data you have inside your data source, you can select the particular layout. So let's say we don't want to show these images. In that case, we can simply go ahead with title and subtitle. So it will show the value or layout according to that. Let's say, for example, if you think with this particular layout we have too much of information being shown to the user, we can go ahead and just stick to image, title, and subtitle so that we have some information shown in a better representable manner to our user. At the same time, for example, if you want to edit the fields which are being shown here, we can click on this edit, and from here we'll be able to make a change to the title as well as the subtitle. So let's say instead of name, you want to maybe show the price. So in that case, you will be able to do that. Let's say even for example, if you want to show the category, so you will be able to do that, right? So this is very much simple that we don't have to write a single line of code, but at least through which we'll be able to directly connect to the data sources which are available to us, and we'll be able to create our apps very much simple. So this was the very basic form of Canvas app that we could be able to create. But now that we will go into the bigger concepts of the Power Apps, like how we can create our custom apps, and then how we'll be able to make a edits to it. All right. Okay.
Now let's see ways to build Power Apps. So first one is you can create an app from a template. So a good way to create an app is to start from a template. And templates use sample data to help you to determine what's possible. The next thing is you can create an app from a data source. So another great way to get started is to generate an app from your own data and simply point Power Apps at the data source of your choice. So, for example, a list in Microsoft SharePoint or Microsoft Dataverse, and watch your Power Apps automatically builds a three-screen app. So, this three-screen apps lets you display, edit, delete, and create the records. Then we have a special data source, SharePoint. The app created from a SharePoint list lets you browse items in the list, view item details, and create and edit items. So after Power App generate an app, you can customize it to make it look and behave exactly the way you want. Then you can build from a blank canvas. So you can also build an app from the ground up and add all the pieces as you go. You can then branch out and use your imagination. Now let's see data sources, connections and gateways. So in Power Apps, most Canvas apps use external information that is stored in data sources. So a common example is a table in an Excel file that is stored in OneDrive for Business or in SharePoint. So apps access these data sources by using a connections. So in Power Apps, you can add many data sources to your apps through built-in or custom connectors. So for data that store on premises instead of in the cloud, you can use a gateway to provide a reliable connection between a Power Apps and your data source. So the gateway sits on an on-premises computer and communicates with Power Apps. Now let's see Microsoft Dataverse. So Dataverse lets you store and manage the data that's used by business application. And the data within a Dataverse is stored within a set of tables. A table is a set of records that are used to store a data, similar to how a table stores data within a database. So Dataverse include a base set of standard tables that cover typical scenario, but you can also create a custom tables that are specific to your organization and then populate them with data using Power Query. So app makers can then use Power Apps to build rich applications by using this data. So let's see some of the benefits of using a Dataverse. So first one is the simple to manage. So both the metadata and data are stored in the cloud. So you don't need to worry about the details of how they are stored. The second one is it helps to secure the data. So data is stored so that users can see it only if you grant them access. So role-based security allow you to control access to tables for different users within your organizations. Then access your Dynamics 365 data. So the data from your Dynamics 365 applications is also stored within the Dataverse, which allows you to quickly build the apps that use Dynamics 365 data and extend your apps by using Power Apps. Also, rich metadata. So data types and relationships are used directly within a Power Apps. Then logic and validation. So it defines calculated columns, business rules, workflows, and business process flows to ensure data quality and drive business processes. And the productivity tools. So the tables are available within the add-ins for Microsoft Excel to increase the productivity and ensure data accessibility. Now let's see designing a Power Apps app. So before we begin building a Power App solution, it's recommended to go through a design process. So when designing your Power App solution, there are several different factors we have to consider. So the first one is the business requirement. So the most important thing always is to understand the need of the user, the need of the customer. So if needed, start with a blank screen and this gives you the ability to build what you want. So depending on the solution or the company policy, you may have a certain security, privacy or compliance requirement that you have to must follow. Then we have to consider this data model. So it is important to decide which data source to use for your solution. So you may have a data source that users work with on a day-to-day basis, like a SharePoint. So every data source and its supported functionality is slightly different. And a certain data source like the Microsoft Dataverse or SQL are considered a premium data source. A premium data source will require each user who uses the app to have a Power Apps per app plan or a Power Apps per user plan. Then we have to consider UX, user experience. So when designing your Power App solution, your goal should be keep it simple. So by designing your Power App solution in a Canvas app, you have complete control of the end user experience. And this allows you to fully customize nearly every aspect of your app. So some of the basic designs elements you will want to consider are like custom branding, your logos and colors, then the pop-ups and hide or show buttons based on users access and permissions. Then we have to consider this user interface. So to fully visualize the user interface or UI, you may want to consider creating a mock-up of your application. A wireframe is a visual presentation of an application's user interface. So, to begin, there are various websites and mobile wireframe templates available, or you could start from a blank template. So, when designing the UI, you don't need to add the logic behind the various elements you place on the screen. So, the goal here is to focus on what the app could look like and how it could function. So, you can either use a video wireframes for a better visualization, and alternately, you may start using the Power Apps itself to prepare the user interface. So, the biggest pros of going this route is that you will gain more experience working with the Power Apps and also learn more about the various UI elements available in the process. So far we discussed what Power Apps can do for your business and the building blocks of creating your first app, and then you created an app from data in Microsoft Excel workbook. Now let's see how we can use the UI and controls in a Canvas app in a Power Apps. The app user experience often defines the success of an app. Now we will focus on how to provide the best app navigation and build the best UI using a themes, icon, images, personalization, different form factors and the controls. So first one, let's see about the navigation. So in a Power Apps, most of the apps have a multiple screen, and it is essential to implement navigate function in your app. So the navigate function allows users to move or navigate from screen to screen in an app. So with this formula, when the button is selected, screen 2 will automatically get displayed. So the navigate function also allows for a visual transition as the users move from the screen to screen, which is set using the screen transition. It provides a different user experience when navigating a screen. So we have a screen transition cover. So the screen slides into a view covering the current screen. Then we have this fade. So the old screen fades away to reveal the new screen. Then we have a none. The old screen is quickly replaced with the new screen. And we have a uncover. The old screen slides out of view, uncovering the new screen. Then the update context record that is optional, a new record that contains the name of at least one column and a value of each column. So this record updates the context variable of the new screen. Similar to the navigate function, you can also have an option to use a back function. So the back function is fairly straightforward and it sends the user back to the previous screen. Then hidden screen. So we have this hidden screen in your app for various purposes such as documentation screen, setting screen, special permission screen. A hidden screen allows the creator of the app to add a screens but not give a user to access to those screens. And this is accomplished by not creating any navigation for a user to those screen.
All right, so with that, let's see a demo of it, how we can create those navigation as well as the back function to create the better navigation within our screens. So let's again come back to the Power Apps portal, which is make.powerapps.com. So we saw like how we can create the Canvas app based on the data that we have in any of the data sources. Now that let's start from a blank. So down here, you will see an option for Canvas app from blank. Or for example, if you go to these apps, here you will be able to see all of the apps which are available to you. And then from here, even you can click on new app, click on Canvas. And now that you will be presented with two options like kind of format that you want to build for this particular Canvas app. So it could be a tablet or it could be a phone. So based on which kind of an device you are targeting for, you can go ahead with the tablet format or a phone format. So we will go ahead simply with the tablet format. So I will just call it as a Canvas navigation. Okay, or maybe Canvas app navigation. Okay, so that now we will build various screens or at least three screens in this particular app, and then we will see how we'll be able to build the navigation between those. So now that we have this screen one created, what I will do is let it just screen one as it is. I will just duplicate this screen, and then we have this screen two. So from here we can duplicate the screen, or even if you want, you will be able to create a new screen. So I will just rename this particular screen two, and then if you want, from here also you'll be able to create a screen. So from this particular screen, new screen option, we have various options like do we want to create it as a blank, scrollable, success kind of a message, or other predefined templates that we have from here. So let's say we want to create it from scratch. So it will be screen three. So this one is screen one, screen two, and screen three. Just to denote that these are screen one, two, three, what we will do is we will go to this insert, and here we'll be able to see all of the controls that we will be able to place onto each of those screens. So what we will do here is simply we will go ahead and place this label. We will just increase a font so that we'll be able to read it better. I hope this one is clear. And then again, I will just rename this to screen one. So once we place this particular control, all of the properties as well as the events which are available for this particular control, you will be able to navigate them from here. So here, all of the properties will be available. At the same time, the events will be available to you, and all those events start with on. So for example, on select, that means what should happen when this particular label is selected. Okay, so all of those events will be available to you with on kind of an starting thing. Otherwise, all of the properties will be available to you, and you can just click on that particular property and specify the value inside of this function or this formula. So we have this created as a screen where I will quickly go to screen two. Even I will do the same way, increase the font size. So even from here, you will be able to play around with most of the common properties. Otherwise, you'll be able to select that property from this drop down, and you will be able to set it. So I will call it as a screen two. Okay, and then we will go here and we will call it again, add one label here, increase the font size to 20, and then we will call it as a screen three. Okay, now that we have various screen, so let's say I go ahead, I'm on screen one now, and I will click on play. We are just on screen where we are not able to navigate away from here. So what we'll do now is that we will build that particular navigation kind of an functionality. So while we are on screen one, we will insert one button. So here in this insert menu, on all of the controls which are available, here we do have button. So just click on that button, and that button will be added to your screen. And again, since this is the plain canvas app, you will be able to adjust it anywhere you want. So bring in your own creativity to carry out that, and then build beautiful applications. So now that since we want to make a change to the text, either you can select the text from here, or that text property is also available onto the right hand side. So here what we will see is we'll say next to this, so that we'll be able to navigate to the next screen. Okay, so just that it won't be suffice that now that if I run, nothing happens on this because we don't have any of the event handling for this particular button, because for this event we have on select event, but we haven't done anything here. So what we will do here is that we will make use of that navigate function which we have just seen. So even if you just type 2 3 characters, you will be able to see the list of all of the available functions that you have got. So now that as you see that I have selected navigate, you'll be able to see automatically list of the screens to which you will be able to navigate. So Power Apps app will be very much intelligent to bring you those kind of an intelligence through which we'll be able to choose the other screens. So let's say we'll go ahead with screen two. We'll put a comma. Again, this one is an optional thing, but this is how those screen transitionings. So that means we have screen transitioning for covers. This one is just for the UI purpose. So let's say we will just call it as a cover right, and then that's it. Okay. Now what happens is that we are on screen one. If I play this, click on next, we are navigated to screen two. So let's say now that we are on screen two, again we want to create a navigation between two screens, which one is screen one as well as screen two. So for those two purpose, we will add another buttons, two buttons here. And for the text, I will say previous for this, because we want to again go back to the previous screen, which is screen one. And from here, we will say this text as a next, because we want to get it to the next screen. So For example, now let's get into the on select event of this previous button. So from here we'll be able to do the navigate, and then we can navigate back to the screen one. But probably now that Power Apps knows that we already have come to this particular screen from screen one, so not necessarily we'll have to go with uh, navigate, but we can simply use this back. So again, while using the back, we can also make a use of this kind of a transitioning. So let's say, for example, transitioning dot cover. Okay, and then in the next, obviously we want to get it to the next screen, which is our screen 3. So here we can again make use of navigate. We will navigate to screen 3, and then we'll put a comma so that we'll get some kind of an IntelliSense through which we'll be able to carry out the screen transitions. All right. So it was fairly easy. Now that we quickly go to the screen 3 as well, and then again put a button here. So again, either you can use back function or navigate function based on what kind of a functionality you want to create. So let's say we will just have this kind of a transition. Now that if we start with screen 1, click on play. Once we click next, now that the screen 2 has come, and even you have noticed some kind of an UI effect. It wasn't that great because we don't have much of the elements placed here, but at least we had got some kind of a transitioning effect, like whenever we are transitioning from screen 1 to screen 2. Now that, let's say, for example, if I click on previous, even you saw some kind of a transitioning effect that the screen has came from right to the entire screen. So here, if you remember, we just use the back function. So that is, Power Apps is intelligent enough to know that the navigation from which it came to the screen 2. So again, once you click on previous, where we have the back function, it can take you to the screen 3, sorry, screen 1. Then from here, if you click on next, it will take us to the screen 3. We changed the text here, we did not change it. So here we have the screen 3. And once we click on again previous, we see that particular thing which is previous to the screen 2. Now let's quickly check what is meant by that hidden screen. Okay, so what we will do is again we will probably click on new screen, and then we will just have one screen. So we will let it call it as a screen 4, but this one will be a hidden screen because this won't be available to us within the navigation. So what I will do quickly is probably I will go to this particular icons, and then again I will go down here and try to search for icon which is a rectangle. So I will place that particular rectangle here. So we have that rectangle here. So now that we will use this particular hidden screen for creating our UI. So if I click this particular rectangle, you will see that the name of this particular rectangle is rectangle 1. And if we go to the fill property of it, we will be able to see that this one has been filled with some kind of an RGB color, which is denoting this blue kind of an shade. Okay, so this one is the screen 1, and fill of this one is blue. Let's say we want to create the another screens, but we want to control the entire UI for all those screens, which are screen 1, 2, and 3 from our hidden screen, which will be kind of a setting screen for us. So in that case, what we can do is I will simply go to this icon and again just place the uh, rectangle here one more time. Okay, so I will place that rectangle here. I will make it a bit bigger. But what we will do now is that we will not change the color of this from here itself, but I will go to this fill. Probably will remove this fill from here. We know that uh, the thing there which was available to us was rectangle 1. So we'll select that rectangle 1, and then we will just call that fill. Okay, oh, sorry, rectangle rectangle 1 dot fill. Okay, so now that you can see that we have that fill automatically done. What I will do is again probably I will go back to this rectangle 1 and I will try to change the color. So even from here you will get the people picker. If you don't know those colors by heart, RGB combination, you can even select those from here. So let's say I will pick up this orange kind of a shade here. So as I go back to the screen 1, you can see that this one has already turned into the orange. But now that if I go back into the navigation, here from screen 1, we'll be able to go to screen 2. From screen 2, we'll be able to go to screen 3, back from screen 3 to screen 2 and screen 1. But we didn't had that particular screen 4 anywhere in our navigation. So this is what is mean by those hidden screens. So for example, if you want to create a consistent UI with some kind of an background effects or at least some kind of an color themes, in that case probably you can consider this as the hint, so that we will be able to create that setting screen, which is the invisible or a hidden screen, and then you will be able to control all the UI aspect of your apps being driven from that particular screen. All right. Okay. So with that, let's move to the next part of it.
We will now explore to build a better UI for an apps using a themes, icons, images, personalization, different form factors, and the controls. So let's see. First one is the themes. A quick and easy way to change the color in your app is to apply a theme. So in a Power Apps, there are several out of the box themes to choose from. So these themes have a specific set of default colors and visual elements which will alter the look and feel of your entire app. So you can customize theme by customizing an existing theme. And there is a no option to create a custom theme for a Canvas app and store it to be used for another apps. The next one is a branding a control. So you can customize your app by changing a various properties of the app controls. So by adjusting a few of the control properties like fill, hover and border, you can completely change how the control looks. So the typical properties are in effect when the user is not interacting with the control. The border color, so the color of a control's border, then the border style determines whether a control's border is a solid dash, dotted or a none. Then the color of the text in a control and the fill, the background color of a control. Now let's see this disable properties. So these properties are in effect when the control is disabled. A control can be disabled if the disable properties is set to disable. So we have this disable color. So the color of the text in a control, if its disable mode property is set to disable. Then the disable field, the background color of the control, if its disable mode property is set to disable. Then we have these hover properties. So these properties are in effect when the user hovers over the control with a mouse. So hover control property, the color of the text in a control when the user keeps the mouse pointer on it. Then the hover field, the background color of a control when the user keeps the mouse pointer on it. So we have to note that each control is independent. This means this means that if you alter the hover color property of one of the button control or your screen or in your app, the other buttons in the app will remain unchanged. So you must edit the properties of each control that you want to appear in a different manner. So some color settings are only controlled by the theme, and there are certain aspects of controls that cannot be altered and are specific to the themes that you select. So for example, the date picker control. Now let's see the icons. So when designing your app, utilize shapes and icon controls when possible to enhance the user experience of your app. And there are certain shapes and icons that are universally recognized that you will find in many of the apps that you are use daily. So icons are the controls and each controls has a specific set of properties that can be modified to change how the control looks and functions. So this control includes arrows, geometric shapes, actions, and a symbol. Now let's see personalization. So in Power Apps, you can show information about the current user using the user function. And this includes the full name, email address, and the pictures that's associated with the user who is signed into a Canvas app.
Okay, so with that, let's try to create a UI for the Canvas app, which is something like to this, like we want to create some kind of a personalization where we'll be able to show the user specific kind of information. So what is mean by that is the user who has logged into Power Apps will be able to give some kind of a personalization feel to it, so that that particular user will get a feel that this is a specific app built for him. So we have various user functions available through which we have user.email, user.fullname, as well as user.image, which are kind of an personalization controls. So what we'll do is again move back to our Power Apps, and then we will go back to the make.powerapps.com, which is our Power Apps portal through which we'll be able to create apps. So from here again, we will start with Canvas app from blank. again, feel free to choose tablet or phone format. I will still stick to the tablet format, and then we will simply name this app as the Canvas personalization. Okay, all right, and then just click on create so that this app will get created. So again, this will be just a simple one screen app, but just that we will add few of the controls through which we'll be able to personalize the user experience. So while on this particular app, what we will do is, again, I will go back to this insert, wherein we'll be able to insert various controls onto this particular app. So let's select this icon. Here we have various icons for best fit for your business needs. So just select any of the icon. So for example, I will again go back to this rectangle. So we have this rectangle here. I will adjust its width to fit the entire screen. Now that we want to build some kind of a personalization, what we saw here. So what we will do is here again, from the insert, we do have image. Okay, so if you go here, here we should have media. So all of the media controls which are available here you will be able to see. So like for example, if you want to add a display an image, or if you want to allow user to open up the camera, take the pictures, capture those inside Power Apps. Even those can be done. Even we do have other controls for barcode scanner, video, audio, microphone, ability to give the user to add any of the picture, import, export kind of a thing. So all those options are available here. At the same time, for example, if you see a diamond next to any of the control, make a note that this one will be a premium control. So that means you will have to obviously pay for that particular usage of the control. So now let's click on this image. The image will be added. I will make it a bit smaller so that we'll be able to see it entirely. So now that we have this image added here, now that with this particular image, we want to make some kind of an personalization, right? So what we will do is we will set this particular image property to, instead of sample image, so this is kind of a sample image that we see for any of the picture that is being denoted in the Microsoft world. So instead of that, what we will do is we will make use of this user, and then we will do the user dot, and then we have the various aspect of that particular user. For example, if you select this image, you will be able to see that this is automatically takes up my picture from my ID property, and then we are able to see it. Same way, for example, if you want to add few of the other things here, so let's say we'll go ahead and add a text box. So since this particular black doesn't appealing onto the blue background, what I will do is I will quickly try to change its color from black to white, so it can be done from here easily. And I will again make a font size big, so that we'll be able to read it out. Again, we will choose this text property. In this function bar, we will type user dot, and then we have various things here. So let's say we want to add the full name. So even we'll be able to see the entire full name of that particular user. So this is how we'll be able to carry out the personalization through which we'll be able to add the user information. Let's say again, if we go ahead, add any of the other label, or let me just duplicate this particular label. Okay, so we can copy, and then again I will just do a control C control V. So we have this copy of this control. So from this copy of the control, instead of this full name, probably we want to present other aspect of this particular user. So again, we will say user dot, and then we'll be able to probably show the email address for that particular user, and then that particular email address will appear here. So this way, at least we'll be able to carry out some kind of an personalization. So let's say quickly, I will add few of the buttons here. So now that this entire application has got its own look and feel, and this one is bit personalized to that particular user. So once I run this is the entire user experience that we will get. But again, not just that, but based on what kind of an experience that we want to create for our users. So for example, if I go to this home, inside this home we'll be able to see those themes which we have been talking about. So not just that these are the only things that we have got here, but you can customize the look and feel of your application by applying some other kind of a theme. So let's say red is the color of your organization, and then you can select this, and then you can run this, so that you will be able to see that this one is entirely into the red kind of a theme. So each of the screen will follow those three themes, and then you will be able to build your application with the consistent theming. Again, you saw that we did not make a change to any of our controls field property by specifying those color codes. But as we just keep selecting to that dark theme or the light theme, the effect you will be able to see out of the box. Okay, so let's say for example I will make it button here, and then again I will go back to the theme and I will select this rose kind of a theme. So we didn't make any changes to that particular controls color code, so it was very much out of the box. So this way, at least, for example, if you want to create your custom color, probably you can follow the hidden screen kind of an approach. At the same time, we have those theming kind of an option available to us, through which we'll be able to apply the theme on various controls. And most of those controls which are available onto these Power Apps will follow the theme automatically, right?
We will explore the best practices around testing and documenting your app's applications.
Okay, so again, let's have a look at all of those controls that we have here quickly. Okay, so controls will obviously help you to create a better experience for the user and collect the appropriate data. So again, all of those controls will be available to you from this insert menu. So if I again go back here, we have all of those controls available here. So again, these kind of an UI elements are called as controls, which we see here, and many of the controls in Power Apps are just like the controls that we have used in the other apps, such as labels, text input control, drop down list, or any of the navigation element. So the specific controls that I want to highlight here, which are mostly used in Power Apps, are like this gallery. So for example, this gallery control, these controls are kind of an layout containers that holds a set of controls that show data from the data source. So like the one we saw when we created the data from the Excel, which is inside the OneDrive for Business. And then again, we have something called as data table. So next to gallery, we do have a data table. So this data table control shows the data from data sources in a format that includes column headers for each of the fields that are that particular control shows. So as an app maker, you have a full control over which field appear and which in which kind of an order it can be done from here. Also, we do have these forms. Okay, so these controls show the details about your data, as well as it will let you create as well as edit the items. Then we do have these media controls. So these controls let you add some kind of an background, images, sounds, all those kind of thing. Again, we do have those charts. So through which these controls let you add charts so that user can do the instant kind of an analysis. Again, we do have those various icons available. So these controls include shapes, graphics, and symbols to enhance the user experience. So they are quickly recognizable to your users to easily interact with your application. So for example, if they see the trash kind of an icon, they can easily recognize that. For example, if I click on this, obviously it is going to delete the record. All right. So through this, you will be able to better visualize your controls. So with that, let's check how we can create those Canvas app with those kind of an unique controls. Okay. So for that, again, I will go back to the Power Apps, again to the Power Apps portal, which is mic.powerapps.com. All right. And okay, so again, we will start with Power Apps from blank. And then again, feel free to use any of the tablet or phone layout, whichever you need. So I will just call it as a new Canvas UI app. Okay, name it anything. I will still stick to the using the tablet format. Let's click on create, and then we will add some more information. Okay, so now that we have this particular app created, I will go to the insert, and then we will quickly add one button here. Okay, so to this button, we will probably want to create some kind of an city or city kind of an representation, like what kind of a city has got how many kind of a population. Okay, so for that we have again this on select kind of an event. So what I will do is I already have one JSON format of thing done, so which I just have pasted here. So we do have this clear collect function. So what it will do is it will initialize the collection by clearing it out, and then we will create one collection called as city population. And inside that we have all of the information about each of the city represented in a JSON format. So we have that JSON format with name of the city, country of that particular city where it is, where it belongs to, and just the population. So this is not the exact population of the cities, but just the numbers. So we have a few entries for London, Berlin, Madrid, Rome, as well as Paris. Okay, so we have few cities being captured there. So now that what we can do is probably we can run that application, and once we click on that particular button, so that on select event will get triggered and it will create the collection for us. Alternatively, you can hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, and now that you can see that this particular icon, which is the click icon, and then without being running this particular application from here, even we'll be able to uh, trigger the on select event of this button. So what I will do is I'm holding the Alt key on my keyboard. I will mouse over on this button. So we see this hand icon. I will click on it. So now that it has done that, it has invoke that particular on select event, and now that we have that collection, which is a city population kind of a collection being created in the memory. Okay, so now that let's say we want to represent that particular thing into our app, what we will do is I will again click on this gallery, and from this gallery we will start with this blank vertical. Okay, so obviously since that city population has been done, you'll be able to see that appearing here. So I will click on that city population, and now that we have this particular gallery populated with that city populations. The reason why don't we see here anything is because in the layout we have a blank. So based on what kind of information you have, so if you have any of the image, or if you just want to show them into the title and subtitle kind of a format, you can do it. So let's say I just select this particular option that we have got, and then again we can go back to this fields, and then we'll be able to show any of the other information. So in this particular uh, option, instead of country being represented as the subtitle one, I will make it to a city, and then this city I will change it to the population. Okay, so now, oh sorry, maybe I will have a city here, and then maybe a country here, and then maybe a population here. Okay, so now that we have some better representation of this, and now that we have that entire information being presented here, so what we will do now is that we want to probably make use of any of the other controls. So let's say we want to make use of control called as a slider. So we will click here, and then here we have something called as a slider. So I will just add that particular slider here. Again, this particular slider has got various properties associated with it. So we have this maximum value for this particular slider and minimum value. So what we will try to do here is that based on the slider that we keep adjusting, we want to filter out the data from this particular gallery based on what value do we select. Okay, so we'll have the maximum value set, and then I will have the minimum value set for this. All right, so this is just the slider that we have here. Now that let's say for example we want to see like what slider value that has been selected here. So for that reason I will again go back to the text. I will add just a label, and again I'm just doing it very fast, but whenever you are doing it for your own application, consider even renaming these particular labels and add those specific purpose of that particular each of the control. So let's say for example label slider value. Okay, so and then maybe slider city populations, those kind of a thing. All right, so we are again back to this text. I will increase the font size a bit so that we'll be able to see it better. What is the purpose of this particular text is that whenever that slider is changed, we want to see the value of that slider. So again, this is a text that this particular text box should show. What we will do is we will make it as a dynamic, and then we will set it to slider one dot value. Okay, so whenever the slider will be changed, we'll be able to see that value. So let's say we will run this application. As I change the slider, you see that that particular text box is showing that value. So this is the maximum and minimum limit that we have specified through which we'll be able to slide through. But again, now that what we want to do based on the sliding that we are doing, probably we want to filter out the data based on the population that we have got here. So let's quickly see like how we can do it. So again, for that, we will select this particular gallery control. And in the gallery controls, if you look at this items property, it is directly showing everything from the city population. Simply now that what we want to do is we want to filter out the results based on the slider value. So we'll start with that. We also have slider function, or if you just type those Power Apps function in your favorite search engine, there also you'll be able to see all of those functions which are available. So we just want to filter this particular city population, and then we want to uh, filter out on the property which is a population, and we want to filter out on certain condition like if the population is less than or equal to slider one value, we want to show only those items. Okay, so we will select that, and then let's do it. Okay, so now that what we will do is we will run this application again. So we don't have anything for this particular range. If I try scrolling through, you can see that as I scroll through, now that it shows all those things. Okay, if I go to the maximum, all of those cities are here. And then as we scroll through that particular slider, we see that only those things which are filtering out on the value of this particular slider we're able to see here. Okay, right. So at least we saw like how we can quickly build those UI, and then again how we can create those collect or clear collect kind of a function to build out our data source in the memory, and then even we can use those onto the gallery control, and even how we will be able to filter out all of those. Okay, all right, so with that, then let's move to the next topic.
Yes. So now we will see what are the best way to document and test your Power Apps application. So let's check for the test plan. So there are many types of testing that you should consider in your development planning. So first one is the unit testing. So this is the smallest component of a testing, a single unit of a measure. Often this is thought to be developer's job. However, every person on a project should include this in their work. So for an example of a unit testing could be you are given a requirement to add a calculated column to a form. So before you advance the task to the testing team, you would confirm the column was on the form as expected and test that the calculation works as expected. So the second thing is the quality assurance testing. So sometimes we call it as a QA. So this is when someone independently tests the task by reviewing the expectations against the work performed. So often there will be the testing of the smallest component such as the units mentioned above, and also the testing of a full end-to-end user story. Then we do have this performance testing. Sometimes it's also referred to as a load testing. So there are many things that can be configured that will have an impact on a system performance. So sometimes the number of concurrent users affect expected performance, that is the load, and sometimes it is combined action of these users, and sometimes an individual user could experience problem such as a slow loading form that has too many subgrids. So integration with other systems might also affect the performance, and the performance or load testing is the most often done using the external tools. Then we do have this integration testing. So the test systems we integrate with the perform as expected. Did we introduce unnecessary dependency? We have to consider it. And then we have this user acceptance testing. So this is an opportunity to have a direct feedback from the actual users of the system being built. Then the user acceptance testing hopefully confirm the system builds is the system users need. Now let's see imperative development techniques for Canvas apps in a Power App. So we will learn about the different development methods and different variables available in a Power Apps. So first one is imperative versus declarative development. So there are two main ways to do the development, imperative and declarative. So in imperative development, the focus is on how to achieve the goal, and with the declarative, the focus is on the getting the result. So imperative provides more flexibility because you control every step in the process, but that means more code and more complexity. And a declarative is much simpler and straightforward to use, but a lack of ability to have a complete control that you might want. So let's take an example of making a sandwich. So in imperative programming, you focus on creating the sandwich in your code. You go to the kitchen, get the ingredients, put the sandwich together, and then send it to the user. So you spend a lot of time on the steps, but you have all of the specific function you want to make it exactly the way you want. So as you can see, there are lots of steps in the process, but you get a sandwich exactly the way you want. So for a declarative programming, the difference is now you are focused on producing the sandwich and not how to make a sandwich. So this much less complex, but you might also run into the issue with the tomatoes. So if the function you use to get the sandwich does not support the option of no tomato, you're out of luck. So the Power Apps has the capabilities for both imperative and declarative logic.
All right, so now that let's see how we can use the variables inside this Power Apps. So variables allow you to store information that you need to reference inside of your app on a temporary basis. So first, let's start with the global variable. So it is the most traditional type of variable, and you use the set function to create and set its value. Then you can reference its value anywhere within your app within various screens. Okay, so the common use is to store users display name when the app loads, and then reference those variables throughout the app. So global variables are the most commonly used variable because of their flexibility. So after you have set the variable, you can reference it or upgrade it throughout the app. So this is how we'll be able to create the global variable. You can use this set function and then just name your variable. So this one is the name of the variable or global variable. And this is how by putting a comma, we can specify value for that particular global variable. Second type of variable that we have is the context variable. So context variable is only variable on the screen where you create it using the update context kind of an function. So context variable are commonly used for functionality that controls a pop-up screen, for example, where you want to use the same variable name on multiple screens, but maintain the value separately. So these contextual variables are similar to global variables, except they are only referenced on the screen where you create them. These contextual variables are expected to be only referenced on the screen where you will create them. Okay, so how to create those contextual variable is that we can just use this update context, and then in this curly braces in a JSON kind of a format, just present the name of that particular variable, which is the contextual variable, specify the value for that contextual variable. Third thing here is we have is a collection. So collection is a special type of variable for storing a table of data. So you can create the collection manually, even that we saw with that clear collect kind of a function in the previous demo. So you can create those collection manually or by loading another data source table into that collection. So these collection variables are available throughout your app, like the global variables, and they are created using the collect or clear collect kind of a function. The most common reason for using collection is to optimize the performance by reducing calls to the same table in the data source. So to store a copy of maybe a projects table, in this case, this is the formula that we will use. Probably we will have collect and then name of that particular variables followed by the data source from where we are referring those to, right? So with that, let's get into the demo of it, and then let's see how we can use those variables. So again, for that reason, I will come back to this make.powerapps.com. Just to save the time, because we have lot many demos, I already have created the app. Probably I can just walk you through that. But it is the same thing that click on new app, create a Canvas app, and then probably select what kind of an app you want to create. Okay, so this is the app that I already have created, Canvas variables and collections. So let me just edit that particular app and we'll be able to just walk through it. Okay, so okay, let it load. So in this demo, we will see like how we can use those clear collect kind of a function again and again, how we can make use of those global variables and the context variables. So this is the same thing here that we have this variable thing. So what we have here is we have one text box which is first name, and then a second text box called as a last name, and then we have a button called as add to collection. So simply what we are doing on a click or on select of this particular button is that we are adding this first name and last name which is here into our collection. Okay, so the name of our collection is our collection, and inside it we are adding the values which are provided by the user into the our collection. Then here we do have one gallery control, and on that gallery control again we have bound that particular data source which is our collection, and then we do have those fields like first name and second name being shown here. So let's see how it works. So probably you can hold down this alt key on the keyboard and click on this button, or maybe we can just run this. So let's say I will add my name here and click on add to collection. You can see that my name is reflected here because now that it is being added to the collection and gallery is referencing to that collection. So let's say again I will make a change here. Okay, as we keep on adding more and more names here, you can see that those gets added to this particular control. Okay, so this is how we'll be able to use those collection variables. Now that let's look into those contextual variables. Okay, so now that these contextual variables are again the variable which can be accessed only on this particular screen. Okay, so we again have one thing here called as a first number, one text box, another text box called as a second number, and then we have few buttons here. So one button next to each of the text box that we have. So on this button, on the on select, we have a function called as update context, which is used for creating the context variable. So the variable that we are creating is the first number here and adding the text value there. And then the second button on click of that, we are again adding the one more context variable called as second number and adding the value there. Again, we have got two statements here for the text. Like simply whenever there will be a change in this first number and second number, we are just summing up those together and showing it here. Similarly, we are showing the sum of those two numbers from the context variables. Okay, so let's see how this one works. So let's say I just add first number as a 3 and second number as a 4. You can see that the sum of those two numbers is 7, but this particular text box or this text hasn't got reflected with those because we haven't yet initialized our context variables. So let's say now I click on this first number, context variable got set. So the addition of the context variables like first variable and second number is 3 plus 0. So in this case, this is 3. Now if I go ahead and click on this, so that context variable will get the value from this text box value. And now you'll be able to see the value being reflected here as a 7. Let's say I go here and click take it as a 6. In that case, you can see that directly it is taking the value as some of those two text boxes. We get it reflected as a 40, but here we still getting this particular data from the context variable. It is still 7. Now when I will click on this set first number, it will be updated in the context variable, and then we'll be able to see this value here. Okay, let's have a look at the global variable. So global variable can be used across your app within various screens. So we have this button here called as set global variable. On click of this particular button, we simply use the set formula, and then we are creating one variable called as a counter global, which is our global variable, and just incrementing that particular global variable by 1. Okay, so initially it will just obviously have value of 0, and then once we click on it, it will start getting those value of 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again, we are using this counter global as the variable instead of this screen called as global variable. Okay, so now that from here you can see that we have it here. So what I will do is again I will go back to this screen context variable. I will run this app, and then I will maybe click 1, 2, 3 times. So obviously the value that we have got here should be 3. So now that what I will do is, again I will go back to this variable, sorry, that this particular screen where we have it, and now that you'll be able to see that the value of 3 is being reflected here. So let's say again go back, I will go back here, I will hold down the alt key and do 2 clicks. So the value has now got incremented to 5. If we again go back here, that value is here. Okay, so this global variables, you will be able to use it across multiple screen within your entire application. On the other hand, context variable are only for that particular functionality for that particular screen. And again, we do have those collection variable, even those can be used across your application. All right. Okay.
In this section, we will cover common performance problems, way to mitigate their impact, and how to perform testing to discover the issues. So the most common performance bottleneck are the data sources. So the most common app performance problems come from interactions with data sources. So almost every app has one or more data source. So Power Apps natively supports over 200 different connections to these data sources, and using these connections is a key to a great app. So the calling these data sources from your app is often the largest bottleneck in your app because of the time it takes to call across the network to the data source and the process the request of the data source side and return the data to Power Apps across the network and in the Power Apps to process and display the data. So optimizing these interactions with data sources is a key to great performance, and some of these sections highlight some of the common mistakes are the too many refreshes. So using the refresh functions, you can force Power Apps to update the data it has gathered from a given data source. And this seems like a great function to run because you get a refresh data in your app. But Power Apps will often handle this refresh for you. For example, when you use a form to submit a new record to data source displayed in a gallery control, Power Apps will automatically refresh that connection. If you include a refresh button when you navigate to the gallery screen, so you are now refreshing the data that the Power Apps has already refreshed. So this is redundant and slows your Power Apps down for no reason. So do not use the refresh function until you are certain it is needed. Then the too many lookups. As you start to use relational data, a common mistake is not to consider the ramifications of a lookup function inside of a gallery. So when you place a lookup function on a label inside of the gallery, then that lookup will be performed once for every record in the gallery. That means if you have 100 records in the gallery, the app has to perform 100 individual lookup calls to the data source to render. So depending on the data source, this could take minutes to render. And a better approach is to display the related data using a detail screen or to use a collection to cache the data from the data source, and then the lookup does not have to execute across the network. Then the storing the data in the wrong data source. So different data sources are optimized for different workloads, and this should be consideration when choosing where to store the data. So one example is storing the images or the files. A common use of Power Apps is to capture the images either using a camera control or the device's built-in camera app. So after the user has taken the images, it needs to be saved. So the one option is to store the image in the same SQL Server database as the other app data. So while possible, it is important to note that the SQL servers is very inefficient in storing the images. So writing and reading the image file to a SQL database is a slow and causing your app to run slow. A better option is to store Power Apps images in Azure Blob Storage, and Azure Blob Storage is much faster than writing the same data to SQL Server. So this minor change is to underline structure of your app. You can have a useful impact on user satisfaction. So choose the optimal data source for your app to get maximum performance. Now let's see how to improve performance with data sources. So we'll learn about some of the common techniques you can apply to mitigate performance issue with the data sources. The first one is use a collection to cache data. So often in your app, you will be find yourself query the same data repeatedly, like in the case of pulling the list of documents for your drop downs menu. So, in those instances, you can query for the data once and then reuse that data throughout the app. This reduces the repetitive call to the data sources across the network. The second one is the delegation. So, when a formula delegates to the data source, all of the processing is handled by the data source and only the matching rows are written across the network to the app to be displayed. So if a function is not delegable, then it is very common to change the delegation limit to 2000 rows. So this means that the first 2000 rows will be downloaded across the network and then processed locally. Then the concurrently function to load a multiple data sources. It is not uncommon to have a several collections load when the app launches. The concurrent functions allows you to process all of the collect calls at the same time.
All right, so let's quickly check like how we can use those concurrent functions to improve the performance of our Power Apps. Okay, so again for that reason, what I will do is again I will go back to the make.powerapps.com, and then again I already have created that app which we can go through. So we'll again click on those apps to see all of those apps, and then we have this Canvas concurrent function app. Okay, so this is again the simple app. Only thing is that instead of maybe querying the actual data source, we have some data source directly loaded into the memory, which is again kind of a very bigger data source where we are storing the collection of fruits as well as collection of the vegetables. Okay, so for example, if I expand this button, click of the first collection button. So here you can see that we are starting with setting a variable with now, that means the current date time. That means we are capturing the current date. We are calling a function called as clear collect, inside which we are collecting the information about the fruits. So these are all of the fruit information that we have, like the name, category, and the average cost of it. And then we do have another clear collect function which will where we will store the collection of all of the vegetables, again specified by the name, category, as well as the average cost. Once all of those collections are loaded into the memory, what we do is we just calculate the date difference between those two, when we started and now that when this particular collection has loaded into the memory. And then we are setting that value to this particular variable called as var speed collection. So we just want to know like how much time does it took to get everything in our oh, just give me one moment. Let me just refresh um, because the formula bar got too much of expanded. All right, let it come through one more time. And then again, second thing that what we will do here is in this particular concurrent function, what we are doing is we are using this concurrent function. Okay, so again, we are setting the variable with var start so that we'll be able to make a note of the starting point or at least the date time when it started. And then we have these clear collect, same thing, same data that we have here, again with the same attributes of name, category, and average cost for fruits as well as the vegetables. Only difference here is that we are using this concurrent. So inside of this concurrent function, we are calling both the clear collect. So now that we will see like what is the difference in the time that it gets. So whenever, for example, if you are getting the data from maybe multiple sources, maybe start using those concurrent. Okay, so what I will do is I will just click on this play. This is the first button where we are not using concurrent. We are loading those fruit and vegetable collections separately. Once I click on that, you will see that it has took maybe 2 seconds. uh, Still it was two, but now that if you see this particular function will start taking lesser time. Okay, let me do it one more time. Okay, but it obviously means this particular thing, it was just with the simple kind of a data. But whenever you will have complex data coming from multiple systems by connecting to various system and getting the data, maybe filtering out and all those things, you will obviously observe that this particular concurrent function will be very much useful, and then you will be able to save much of your time to improve the performance of your application, right? Okay, so now let's get into the model driven apps.
Now let's start creating a model-driven app in Power Apps that uses Dataverse. So we will focus on the building blocks of Dataverse and model-driven apps. So these key components will help you to build quick business apps in your organization. So let's have some introduction to Microsoft Dataverse. Whether you're building a Canvas apps or a model driven apps, Dataverse is the ideal data structure because it is the foundational data source of Microsoft Power Platform. And Microsoft Dataverse is a straightforward platform that you can use to begin designing your data structures and helping to keep them safe. Additionally, by applying a business rule, you can trust that your business integrity will be maintained. So the another benefits of using Dataverse is that all of your data is stored in a tables, and a table is a set of records that is used to store a data similar to how a table stores data within a database. So Dataverse includes a base set of standard tables, but you can also create a custom tables that are specific to your organization. So some of the benefits of using a Dataverse and its table include simple to manage. So both the metadata and the data are stored in the cloud that you are confident about the details of how they are stored. Then it helps to secure your data. So the data is stored so that users can see it only if you grant them a access. Is my voice is low? So the role-based security allows you to control access to tables for different users within your organization. Then access your dynamic 365 data. So if you use dynamic 365 data from your dynamic 365 application is also stored within Dataverse and allowing you to quickly build apps that use your Dynamics 365 data and extend your apps by using a Power Apps. Then rich metadata. So the data types and relationships are used directly within a Power Apps. Then we have logic and validation. It defines calculated columns, business rules, workflows, and business process flows to ensure the data quality and drive business processes. Then the productivity tools are the tables are available within the add-ins for Microsoft Excel to increase the productivity and ensure data accessibility. Now let's have some introduction to model-driven apps. So the model-driven apps uses a component focus approach to develop the apps. So when developing a Canvas apps, you have a complete control over the appearance and the behavior of your apps where whereas with model driven apps, the layout is mainly based on the components that you add to the app. So, with model driven apps, a number of different components and component properties are available for you to add and modify when designing an app. So, the model driven app design provides the benefits such as the rich component focus, no code design environments, and ability to create complex responsive apps with a similar UI across a variety of devices from a desktop to mobile, and a robust design capability and apps can be distributed as a solution. Now let's see Microsoft Dataverse and model driven apps. So when creating a model driven app, you can use the tables from Microsoft Dataverse as your building blocks. So the model driven apps start with your data model, building up from the shape of your core business data and processes in Dataverse to model forms, views, and other components. It's important to ensure that your business data and business processes at the data level are structured properly before you compose your app. The model driven apps will automatically generate a UI that is responsive across the devices. So, when creating a model driven app, it is important to focus on these three areas. The first one is modeling business data, then the defining business processes, and composing the app.
Right, so let's see now that how we can create the tables inside Dataverse. Okay, so this Dataverse lets you securely store and manage data that is used by business applications. Standard as well as the custom tables within Dataverse provide secure as well as the cloud-based storage option of your data. Okay, so data within Dataverse is stored within set of records, which we call it as a table. So table is a set of records used to store data similar to how table stores data within the database. So database include base set of standard tables that support common business scenarios that connect to even Dynamics 365 applications of data. So let's have a look at a few of the characteristics. So table describes kind of data that is stored in the Dataverse table. Okay, so whenever we use standard tables, and when again next thing is like when to create those new tables. Okay, so Dataverse come with the number of standard tables which supports core business application capabilities, and each table also contains number of metadata columns that represents common data that the system needs to store for that particular table. For the minor changes, you might not have to create the custom table. So just that to change the display name of the columns, you can edit the table, and then you don't have to create a new table itself. Then again, you can't delete those standard tables, but you can only hide them. So if the standard table doesn't work for your business needs, and if they cannot be edited to meet the those kind of business needs, so in that case, obviously consider creating the new table columns as well as the table relationships. So for those table relationships, at least it just define the different ways a table records can be associated with the records from the other, or even from the same table. Okay, so we have various relationships here. First one is one to many. So that means many related table records are associated with a single primary table record in a parent-child kind of a relationship. Secondly, we do have many-to-many relationship. So many table records are associated with many other table records, and records are related through end-to-end kind of relationships, which are considered as peers. So when you look at the solution explorer, you might think that there are three types of data relationships. End to one, but end to one is just one to one kind of a relationship viewed from the related table. Okay, so the types of table owners that we have got here are two. So whenever you create a custom table, the options for ownership are used as user or team owned, or even organization owned. So user or team owned is like actions that can be performed on these records can be controlled at a user level. And the second one, which is organization owned, that means access to the data is controlled at the organization level. Again, we do have certain business rule that can be applied onto the table. So by combining the conditions and actions, you can do any of the business rule, including setting the column value, clearing the column value, setting the column requirement level, showing or hiding the columns, enabling or disabling the column, or even have some kind of an validation done to it. Okay. So with that, let's look into a demo of how we can create a custom table inside SharePoint, and then sorry, inside Microsoft Dataverse, and then again how we'll be able to import the data to that custom table. So for that reason, what I will do is again I will go back to this make.powerapps.com, and then from here let it load, and we can go to this data and to the tables. So from here we can start by creating the table. So I will just click on this new table. I will just call it as a business prospects. Okay, so we have named it as a business prospects, and then for this particular prospect table, the primary name, probably what we can do it as a prospect name. Okay. Okay, so this will just create one new custom table for us. Now that let's say we want to add few more columns to it, so we can just click on this add column, and in that add column, probably we will create a new column called as prospect stage. And then we can define various data types for this particular table, including text, email, URL, number, many more things. Okay, so we will go to this choice kind of a thing. And in this choice, probably we will add our own choice. Okay, so we will call it as a maybe what kind of an prospect stage it could be. So we can have maybe a lead, we can have maybe as an opportunity. So again, if you want, maybe even we can have a one any of the opportunity. For example, if we have one or maybe lost. Okay, so at least these are some kind of an opportunities that we can set there. Okay, and okay, so this one is okay. Maybe I will call it as a business prospect stage. Okay. So we will call it as a business prospect stage. And then again, for example, if you want, even we can add one more column to it. Let me click on done, and then we will add one more column. We will call it as a business contract amount. Okay. And again, this is just the contract amount. So we will make it to a number. Okay. So either we can make it as a whole number, or even if you want, we can make it to a currency. So under the numbers, we should have currency. So we can set it as a currency. Just click it on done, and it is done. So again, let's say for example, if you want to create some kind of an more advanced thing. So what we can do is again, we can go to this add a column, and here in the display name, I will say business forecasted revenue. And here in the in this particular thing that you can see that we have various other options. So again, for this particular forecasted revenue, we will again stick to using currency. And then down bottom here, we have calculated or roll up kind of a thing. Okay, so will click plus on this, and then we will go into the calculation. So firstly, we will save all those pending changes, and it will take us to the calculated field kind of a thing. Okay, so let us wait for that. The pop-up will occur wherein you will be able to add your calculation. Okay, so here we have condition, here we have action. So in the action, what we want to do is just that we want to get the business contract value that we have got. So that means this is a business contract amount that we have got. We want to multiply that particular thing maybe by our business probability. So okay, I think we did not add the business probability, but what we can do is probably we can just uh, I will just probably just directly divide this one by 100. If you have got that business probability, even we could have able to do that. So we will just click on save of this so that this particular calculation will be saved. And what we will do is we will do a save and close. Okay. 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 Let it do. Okay. So what I will do is again, I will maybe add that calculation for the business probability. So, and in this business probability, this one we will probably consider this as a whole number that we want to see like what are the probabilities of getting this particular deal. So now that we have everything here, what we will do is again, if you want, we can go back to that forecasted value, business forecasted value, and then we already have the calculation here. So we'll just open up that calculation one more time. So here we'll be able to bake in that particular probability. So let it open up. Okay. All right. So we already have it. What we will do is probably we will just delete this one and add a new one. So again, I will click on add a new action. Here we will get the business contract amount that we have got into the probability uh, which we are considering that this particular deal will come to us, and then we will just multiply that by 100. Okay, so this is a calculation that we have got. Okay, formula is invalid. Let me check that. Okay, we don't need add this, right? And just click on save, and then just click on save and close, and this particular thing is for us. And then we can click on done. Again, for example, if you want to create some kind of a business rule, they can be set from here. So just click on that business rules, and from here you will be able to add those business rules. So in the business rules, probably what we can do is this is a kind of a business rule that we have got. So we can consider adding any of the condition that we have got. So select the condition that we have got here, and onto the right hand side we will be able to select all of the condition that we have got. So let's say we have selected this particular thing now, and then if you want to have some kind of an operation, for example, if this particular condition, this business contract amount contains the data, so this is a condition that we are coming up with. And then if you want to go ahead and make some calculation based on this, we'll be able to do it. So once you do that, what we will do is we want to set something called as a set business required. Okay, so we will click again onto this, and then again we will go to the components, and then we will set the set business as required. We will type it here. Again, in this particular thing, what we can do is whenever there is a there is some kind of a value into the contract amount, we want that probability should be always set. So we can set that particular field, and then we will set it as a business required. So what will happen is that whenever someone will add the data to this particular table, and then whenever they set the value for the contract amount, we want to impose some kind of a business rule through which they must enter the business probability. All right, so we'll click on apply, we'll click on save here, and once it is done, we'll be able to activate this kind of a thing. Okay, so this particular condition has been activated there. So what we will do is probably we will see into it when we will look into the model driven thing, but just for um, this thing I will close out of this thing, and then we will be able to see that business rule here. Quickly, what we will check is how we'll be able to import the data here. So as I go to the data, from data you can click and then probably get data and get data from Excel. So once you click on that, you will get an option through which you will be able to upload some kind of a data. So I already have, I think here some data, or no? All right. Okay, so what we can do is probably if you have any of the Excel format with you, you'll be able to upload data to there. Unfortunately, I don't think I have any data here, but what you can do is you can just upload that particular Excel file. You can map those columns, and that entire data will be added to your data was table. All right. So with that, let's start with the model-driven apps.
So, model driven app design is an approach that focuses on quickly adding the components to your apps. And these components include a dashboard, forms, views, and charts. So, with a little or no code, you can make apps that are simple or complex. Now, let's say design phases. The model driven apps have a three design phases: model your business data, define your business process, and build the app. So let's say first one, model your business data. So model driven design uses a metadata driven architect so that designers can customize the apps without writing a code. So to model business data, you determine what data the app will need and how that data will relate to other data. So the metadata means data about the data, and it defines the structure of data stored in Microsoft Dataverse. The second thing is define your business processes. So defining and enforcing consistent business process is a key aspect of model driven app design. So consistent process helps ensure that your app users can focus on their work and not worry about having to remember to perform a set of manual steps. So the processes can be simple or complex and they often change over the time. The third one is build the app. So after modeling the data and defining the processes, you build your app by selecting and setting up the components you need in the app designer. Now let's see building a blocks of model driven apps data. So the data components determines what data the app will be based upon. The first one is a table. So the tables are the items with the properties that you track. So examples include contacts and accounts. So many standard tables are available and you can customize a non-system standard table or production table. You can also create a custom table from a scratch. Then the columns are the properties that are associated with an table and help define that table. A column is defined by a data type which determines the type of data that can be entered or selected. So the example of data types included text, number, date and time. currency, and a lookup, which creates a relationship with other table. So the columns are typically used with forms, views, and searches. Then the relationships often how tables can be related to each other. So there are one to many to one, and many to many relationships. So for example, adding a lookup column to an table creates a one to many relationship between the two tables and lets you add that lookup column to a form. So the choice column, this type of column shows a control that lets the user select among a predefined options, and each option has a number value and a label. So the choice column can require either a single value or a multiple values. Now let's see the user interface. The user interface components defines how users will interact with the app. So the app determine the app fundamentals like components, properties, the client type, and the URL. A site map defines specifies the navigation for your app. Form includes a set of data entry columns for a given table. So this set of data entry columns matches the items that your organization tracks for the table. So one example is a set of data entry columns where users enter relevant information to track a user's previous orders together with specific requested order dates. So the view defines how a list of records for a specific table appears in your app. A view defines the column shows the width of each column, the sort behavior, and the default filter. So the logic component determine what business processes, rules, and automation the app will have. Microsoft Power Apps makes use a designer that's specific to the type of process or rules. So the business process flows walks users through a standard business process. Use a business process flow if you want everyone to handle customer service requests the same way, or you can use a business process flow to require staff to gain approval for an invoice before submitting an order. Then the workflows automate business processes without a user interface. Designer use workflows to initiate automation that does not require any user interaction. And actions are a type of process that lets you manually invoke actions, including a custom action directly from a workflow. And the business rules apply rules or recommendation logic to set columns requirements, hide columns, validate data, and more. App designer use a simple interface to implement and maintain fast changing and commonly used rules. Then the flows, the Power Automate is a cloud-based service that lets you create automated workflows between the apps and services to get a notification, sync files, collect data, and many more things. Now let's see the visualization. So visualization component determines what type of data and reporting the app will show. The first one is the charts. The charts are individual graphical visualizations that can appear in a view or a form, or that can be added to a dashboard. And a dashboard shows one or more graphical visualization that provides an overview of actionable business data. Then the Power BI adds embedded Power BI tiles and a dashboard to your app. And the Power BI is a cloud-based service that provides business intelligence insight.
All right, so with that, let's see like how we can create the model-driven app. So for that, again, I will go back to the make.powerapps.com, and then from here we can start creating the model-driven app. So now that from here we have ability through which we can start from a blank. We have two options here, but obviously onto the exams, there would you cannot expect any of the questions onto the preview. So we'll simply go ahead with the classic app designer. So just click on create, and then it will help us to create a new model-driven app. So I will just call it as a model account app, and then we will proceed from here. Okay, so just click on done. So what we are trying to do now is that we will try to build something for on the account table that we have got in Dataverse as out of the box. So now that just click on this particular pencil icon, and then you will be able to get to here. So from this sitemap, now that we can click on this particular sub area. Inside of this type, we can select the entity, and then in the entity, we can select our entity. So since this particular app we are creating for account kind of an entity, which is a predefined, you can select that. So now that we have this accounting created, what I will do is I will just click on save and close. So with that, now we are creating this particular model driven app for our account form or account table. So from here, we'll be able to define what kind of an forms, views, charts, and dashboards should be available for our app. So I will click onto the forms. Here we have all of the forms available. Probably we don't have to go ahead with all of the forms. So I will just select maybe the account form that is needed. We will click on views, and here we have various views available. So probably again we don't want to go ahead with all of the views. So at least what we will do is I will at least go with the active accounts that we have got, or all of the accounts that we have got, or just my active accounts that we have got. Okay, so we will just select those three views. Once we will come to the charts, again we have got various charts here. So probably we are just interested to show this account by industry kind of a chart for ourselves. So what we'll do is now we will just save this particular app, and from here we'll be able to validate and publish the app. So what we will do is we will just publish this particular app so that we'll be able to publish and use this app. So now that if you click on play, this particular app will be played, and now that we will be able to add certain information for the account. So from here we have got ability through which once you click on this new, here we'll be able to show all of the or add entire information about the account. So let's say I just call it as a add item, and then again oh, just any of the account that we want to get it added. And again, we do have those business process flows here, and then we have those stages. So let's say based on number of employees that we have got, we have those stages defined. So once you click on here, you'll be able to see that we need to at least give the city and the number of employees to pass on this particular stage. So in a city, probably I will just say Pune, and the number of employees, we will say it as a 20. So once we just specify those as a 20, we are still into the stage one, because this expect us to just enter the primary contact name, which is on onto the address to field of our customer. So what we will do is like, let's say we go beyond this, and then I will just do 200. So once we do 200, you can see that this particular stage has turned into the extra large kind of a thing. So here we'll have to specify the primary contact. So how this is happening, because we have the condition being imposed here, through which it all those things are happening. So let's say for example, if I go back here again, and we do have this business process flow. So this is the custom business process flow that we have here. So based on how many number of employees you are adding for that particular account, we are at least falling through the large customer, or at least the new stage, or at least that particular defined stage. Okay, so this is how it will be controlled. So and now that let's see like how we can control at least the other things. So we can how we can control the security when sharing all those things. So we already have published this particular thing. So this Microsoft Power Apps uses the role-based security for sharing. Okay, so we can create or set up a new security role. So Power Apps environment includes predefined security roles. At the same time, for example, if we need, we will be able to create those roles. Okay, so what we will do now is that we already have created and published this particular role. We will just click on leave. Again, we will close it down from here. And let's say now if I again come back to this Power App, here we have that Power App ready with us. So from here, we'll be able to share this particular app. Once I click on share, we will be able to select that app, and then all of the custom defined or all of the predefined or the custom roles will be appearing here. From here, maybe you can click on manage roles, and from here we'll be able to create a new role. So once you click on new, from here you'll be able to create a new role. So let me I will just call it as a new role, which is account operators. So let's say for example, if it is your custom entity, you will be able to find that particular entity from here. Since this particular app you are working on to the predefined entity, which is account, it will be available to us under core records. And then as we click through this particular thing, you can see that these are the permissions that I'm giving for this particular security role to perform the operations on this particular database table. So what I will do is I will just click save and close. So we created one more row there, or at least one more security role there. Now from here, if I go and click on share one more time, select our app that we had created. So the account operators was the one that we had created, and we are able to see it here now. Okay, so what we can do, we can select this particular thing, and we can select to which people we want to give that particular role. And once we click share, at least all that particular role will be given to the users with which we want to do it. Okay, so that is how we'll be able to share all those roles. So let's quickly check now the Power Automate part.
Power Automate is an online workflow service that automates action across the most common apps and services. So, for example, you can create a flow that adds a lead to Microsoft Dynamics 365 and record in a MailChimp whenever someone with more than 100 followers tweets about your company. So, when you sign up, you can connect to more than uh, 220 services, and you can manage data either in a cloud or in on-premises sources like a SharePoint and Microsoft SQL Server. The list of application you can use with Power Automate grows constantly. You can use a Power Automate to automate the workflows between your favorite applications and the services. You can sync the files, get notification, collect the data, and many more things. So, for example, you can automate some of the tasks like instantly respond to high priority notification or emails, capture a track, and follow up with the new sales leads, copy all the emails attachment to your OneDrive for business account, collect the data about your business and share that information with your team, automate the approval workflows. A common use of Power Automate is to receive a notification. Let's have a brief tour of Power Automate. So when you sign in a Power Automate, you will find some of this menu. So the action menu where you can manage the approval and the business process flows. Then the my flows where your flows resides. Then you have a create where you can start a new flow. The template where you can take a look at some of the most popular templates. So this should give you some more great ideas for flows you want to try. Then the connectors where you can connect from one service to another. The data where you can access the entities, connections, custom connectors and gateways. Then the solutions where you can manage your solutions, and the learn where you can find the information that will help you quickly ramp up on a Power Automate.
All right, so let's see like how we can quickly create a first Power Automate flow by using the out of the box templates that we have got. So there are a few important concepts for the Power Automate that every flow has got two main parts. First one is a trigger, and second one is one or more actions. So you can think of trigger as the starting action for your flow, and then actions are what you need to happen when a trigger is invoked. Okay, so with that, let's see a demo of it. So now that from here, now that we are into the Microsoft Power Automate, or which was previously used to call it as a Microsoft Flow, from here you will be able to create a flow, and then let's say we want to build a flow through which we want to filter out the emails that that are coming to us, and just want to store all of the attachment from those emails to our OneDrive. Okay, so we have various starting points here, like automated cloud flow through which it will be triggered by any kind of a designated event. For example, any of the item got added into the SharePoint. Then we have an instant cloud flow through which all those flows can be manually triggered. Then we do have a scheduled cloud flow. So that means if you want to do something as a timer based kind of a thing where it can be used. Then we do have a desktop flow and the business process flow, which will help you to automate your desktop environment. Okay, so let's go into the templates. And this in this particular template, we have got various templates available. So since now that we are only interested for the Office 365 email attachment, we will just try to search for save Office 365 email attachment. Okay, so let me just search that, and then we what we want to do is we just want to save those email attachments to a specific OneDrive for business folder. So now that from here we'll be able to see that we have at least two connections being created for OneDrive for business, and then one thing is for the Outlook. So from here we will click on continue. It will build that particular connection with my account. You can see here, and then we'll be able to to continue from here. So what we want to do now, that this one is our triggering point. So whenever there will be an email into this particular folder, which is my inbox, based on this certain condition, like for example, from which user this particular user is coming. If it is coming from a certain user, this yes branch will be executed, and there we will be able to save the attachment. At the same time, for example, if this falls to false, in that case what should happen? So what we will do here is that I will just click on those folder path, and probably I will just click on this folder, and then from here it can directly take me to the OneDrive for Business. So under root, we already have one folder for Power Apps. So probably there we want to store the value or store that attachment. Same thing I will do here. I will go to the root, and then I will select the Power Apps. So now that all of the emails which are coming to me will be saved to this user, sorry, this folder. So for example, if you want to segregate based on from which user it is getting from, you can do it. So what I will do is I will we have saved this. We can test it directly from here, or whenever there will be an event generating out of it, it will happen. So I will quickly switch to another profile that we have got here. So let me just open up the another user account, which is in the same tenant. And then I will just quickly go to the Outlook of that particular user. So through the Outlook of this user, we have one email in the draft of this particular user, which we will send to our admin user, where we have the flow triggered. And then once there will be an email, it this one has got some kind of an attachment, so I will send this. So Power Automate Flow should be able to take that particular thing, and then it should be able to process. All right, so let me just open it one more time. Okay. Okay, so looks like the email has gone. Let me quickly refresh this one more time just to make sure. Okay, and let me again go to the sent items. So in the sent items, you can see that this particular email has been sent right now. What we can do now is we can go back to this flow, and then you can see that this particular thing just have done, and then it was triggered 11 seconds ago. The duration it took is just 25 milliseconds. So once I click on this, here you will be able to see what kind of a path that particular Power Automate flow has followed. At the same time, what I will do is I will open up my OneDrive, and we were inside that Power Apps folder, and you will be able to see that this particular attachment has got added here few seconds ago, and all those things has happened through the Power Automate flow itself. So let me again go back to that flow. So this flow will show you the entire thing, what has happened, like from whom the email came in. We have all that information here. And again, for example, if that condition is met, yes or no. So now that this condition has been met, so it will follow that yes path. And in that particular yes path, these are the things that we had specified, that this particular attachment, which is this attachment which was sent from another user, should be sent out to the folder path. Similarly, what you can do is probably again you can go to this create, and then you will be able to create various flows based on your need, like automated flows. So let's say, for example, if you want to build something for Microsoft Teams or SharePoint, you will be able to do it. At the same time, you will be able to create those scheduled flows as well as instant cloud flows, which can be triggered manually. So all those kind of things are possible, right? So let's see the Power Automate desktop flow that we have got.
So repetitive task outcomes many workers' days, decreasing productivity and creating a less engaging work environment. Robotics process automation (RPA) allows you to outsource those tasks to user-friendly software. So freeing your time for more important or creative endeavors. So Microsoft Power Automate allows you to build that automation from the start to finish by using Power Automate desktop flows. Building the desktop flows is the first step in designing your RPA solution. Now let's see how to explore Power Automate desktop. So for that you have to open and explore your Power Automate desktop. The upper right corner indicates which environment you are in, and under the flows you will see existing desktop flows that you have, and you will able to edit, start or delete them. You can explore what creating or editing a flow looks like by selecting the plus new flow button. So the designer contains several elements for you to focus on. So the toolbar, so the A over here on the slide denotes the contains the basic operations for use with actions save, undo, copy, debug and paste, and buttons to start the desktop or the web recorders and control the process implementation, start, pause, and stop. Then the subflows, the B indicates, allows you to create the subflows under your main flow. Then the action pane, that is the C, contains all the Power Automate desktop actions and includes the search bars that help you to find specific action by matching the action name to the text string. Then we have a workspace D, contains all the actions that are added to the process so far, and the functions are separated into the tabs. Then the input output variable E contains all the variables that you created in the processes, and the flow variable F, the list of variables that are used in the process.
All right, so with that, let's see how we can create our first Power Automate desktop flow. So obviously we'll have to get it downloaded and installed. So from here you can see that already I have logged into that particular environment. We can click on new flow and then we'll be able to create a flow from here. Okay, so I will just call it as a test flow and we will get started. So just click on create and this particular flow will be able to create. So flow has been created. It will open up us for all of the possibilities that can be done with this Power Automate desktop. So at least this one will be used for automating your desktop kind of an application. So here we have various things that can be done. So you can go through those. So we have everything that can be done onto the Excel in on any of the database on an Outlook or any of the other things. What we will do quickly here is that let's say we want to run any kind of an application by running this flow. So once we drag drop this run application kind of a thing, here we'll be able to set a path wherein we can pick up any of the file. So what I will do is I will just browse to my desktop and then probably this folder and then I just want to open up this text file that we have got here. Okay, so I will click on open and I will click on save. Once we do that, from here we'll be able to run that. So once we run this particular Power Automate desktop, you'll be able to see that it has opened up my SharePoint, sorry, for my text file. Next thing which is very much important here is how you can record something. Okay, so we have something called as a desktop recorder. So once you click on that, this one, the recorder window will open up, and then as I click through each of the things, we'll be able to record. So just click on the start recording button. So let it run. Now that each of the thing which I do here, it will be recorded. Okay, so from here even you will be able to see that all those recording steps. So now that I clicked on this start button, I went to this Google Chrome, and here probably I just have searched for www.microsoft.com. So now that we are opening up this Microsoft.com, we will go to the surface from here. So it has included everything here. And then once we are in the surface, from here probably if you want, we can go ahead into the accessories thing. Okay, so this is how we'll be able to record everything. Let me just click on finish and then we will try to rerun this recording. Okay, so now that this all these particular things are recorded here, what we will do is we'll just click on run and then we'll be able to see that this one just open up my notepad which we had, and then this is not me that doing all those things, but this is directly happening from the Power Automate desktop. So now that it has went to the Microsoft side, it has clicked that particular surface menu that we had got, and then it can come to this. Okay, so at least this is how we'll be able to control everything, or at least this is from where we'll be able to automate everything that we have got for the Power Automate desktop. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so tenant and environment admins use the Power Automate Admin Center to manage the data policies and environments for the Power Automate deployments. So for that purpose, you have to go to the Power Automate and open the Admin Center. So the environments and environment is a space where you can store, manage, and share your organization business data, apps, and flows. It's also serve as a container to separate apps that might have a different roles, security requirements, and target audiences. The way that we use the environment depends on your organization and that the apps that you are trying to build So here are some of the examples. So you can create a separate environments to group the test and the production versions of your apps. You can create a separate environments that correspond to specific teams or departments in your company, and each environment holds the relevant data and apps for each teams and the department. Also, you can create a separate environments for the different global branches of your company. You can build all your apps in a single environment. Then let's consider this data policies. So when you use a Power Automate, the data is automatically protected with whatever the security rules your organization already has in place. So it is not possible to use a Power Automate to get access to information that the user does not already have access to be the organization. So some organization may want to add an additional operational layer of a security that can proactively block flows that violate certain policies. So this way you can just export and import your flows also. Now let's see how we can use the AI builder. Yeah, so we will learn the basics of the AI builder usage in Power Automate and how it can benefit your organization. So AI builder usage in a Power Automate. So Power Automate offers AI builder actions that enable usage of all model types in a flow. So adding a AI builder actions in your flow allows you to perform model interface by using outputs of upstream actions, email attachment, receive, SharePoint file drop, created records in a Microsoft Dataverse entity, and so on. So the process model interface results in a downstream actions sent by email, stored in a Dataverse records, message in a Teams, and so on. The illustration on this side shows a simple flow with these three main stages. Receive an email in the Microsoft Outlook, detect the sentiment of the email body by using the AI Builder sentiment analysis model, send an email notification with the sentiment detected in the email by using overall text sentiment output from the AI Builder model. Now let's consider the use cases. So invoice processing. So the companies often receive invoices in a large quantities and from various sources such as mail, fax, and email or in person. So processing these documents and manually entering them into the database can take a considerable time. So this process can be greatly improved by using the AI Builder form processing model to extract the columns and tables from your documents and creating a Power Automate flow to automatically move information into your database. So we can analyze the email sentiment, and AI Builder allows you to analyze overall sentiment of a text and even the sentiment of each sentence. So by using a Power Automate flow, you can apply the AI Builder sentiment analysis model on the receipt of an email and be notified of the sentiment of important emails to you. You can also combine the sentiment analysis with the key phrase detection by using the AI Builder key phrase extraction model.
All right, so let's see like how we can use those AI builder actions in our Power Automate. So for that reason, let me just close out the other windows and let me go back to this Power Automate. So from here, we have various type of Power Automate flows that we can create. Let's select this instant and then this one manually triggering a flow. I will just call it as AI from Power Automate. Okay, I will just name it anything and just click on create. So this one is a manually triggered flow and here we can add the input. So in the add input, we can select either text, yes, no, file, email, number or date. So we'll go ahead with input and then simply I will say it as a my text. So that means this is the text that we are referring to when the user will enter. We'll click on this new step and then in this new step, we'll be able to see all those AI builder kind of a thing. So simply that we want to analyze the positive or negative sentiment from the text. So we'll select that. First thing that we'll have to select is the language. So we'll go ahead with English. And in the text, we will select what the user has entered. So this one is available in the my text. So from here, either you can search or just type my text here and then you will be able to locate that. So there is a simple flow. What we will do is we will just save it and then we will click on test. Okay. So let it save. It is still saving. Okay, so let's click on test so that we will test it manually. Click on test and then here it is asking us to enter any of the input. Okay, so I will say the session was nice and then we'll just click on the run flow. So what will happen is that it will carry out that sentiment analysis on this particular text, and then we'll be able to get the result. So now that you can see that this particular flow has run successfully, and if you come here, so you will be able to see that this particular text positive sentiment we have in that particular sentence which we have given. So let's say, for example, again, if I go back and let me again edit it one more time, click on test, you click on manually, and then click save and test. Here I will say the food was okay. Okay, so in that case I don't have much sentiment involved, neither positive neither negative kind of a sentiment we have involved here. So again, when the flow will run, we'll be able to see what kind of an sentiment that we have got. So at least onto the positive side, we have just 0.08 kind of a positivity. This was much of kind of a neutral, but which is still falling towards the negative kind of a sentiment. So this is how we'll be able to use all those AI builder kind of an capabilities inside Power Automate.
Yeah. So we'll get introduced to AI Builder, how to build the models and how we can use them in a Power Apps and Power Automate. So AI Builder is a Microsoft Power Platform app capabilities that help you to improve your business performance by automating processes and predicting outcomes. By using a AI Builder, you can quickly bring AI to your apps and flows that connect to your business data and is stored in the underlying data platform, so Microsoft Dataverse, or in a various cloud data sources such as the SharePoint, OneDrive, or Azure. So the AI models that you can create in AI Builder can help provide intelligence to enhance your business. AI Builder simplifies the AI creation experience by giving people with any level of technical skills the ability to add the AI capabilities to their apps and the flows without writing a code. AI Builder also provides the pre-built AI models where you don't need to gather data to build and train the model. You can start to use the intelligence right away also. So what you can do with AI Builder is you can use the AI Builder to create a custom AI model that suits the needs of your business, or you can choose from a selection of pre-built model. You can then use the AI from these models in your apps and the workflow. So for example, with the AI Builder, you can analyze the text for the classification, key phrases, language, and sentiment, predict whether something will happen, process the business card information, process the text from the images, read and save the information from standard documents, recognize and count items in the image. A common use of AI Builder is to automate the processes. So some of the example, you can have to think about how we can use the AI in in your business. So invoice the processing. So companies often receive invoices in a large quantities and from a variety of sources such as email, fax, and the in person. The text analysis. So the businesses today's are collecting more data than even before, where it's from survey responses, product reviews, user feedback, or emails.
All right, so let's see like how we can carry out at least category classification, object detection, business reader, receipt processing, and text recognition. So at least we won't be able to go through all of those, but we will try to see how much we can uh, go through. One more thing is like these particular capabilities are only available in the regions of United States and Europe. So make sure that you are into the environment which is created onto the US or onto the um, Europe. Okay, so to access the AI builder kind of an capabilities, just click on AI builder from the left navigation, click on build from here, and then you will be able to see all of the applications that you have built on the AI builder. Okay, so again, we do have a models here. So for example, if you have created your own custom models, you should be able to see it from here. So let me just go to the model, and then we have one model created. So what I will do is I will just click on build a new model. We'll see how we'll be able to use the custom model inside of this. And then from here, we will just select on the category classification. So here I will name this as a healthcare feedback. So now that consider that we are working for a hospital, and then we are getting all of the feedback from our patients when we release them. So what kind of a feedback they give us to us. So just click on select text, and onto the left hand side you will be able to see all of the things which will happen for that, or all of the wizard that we have. So first one is the selecting the text. From here what we can do is we will be able to select any of the pre-existing table that we have got here. Okay, so I will select that, and I know that all of the responses that we get from the customers are in the text field. So I will select that particular field, and here you will be able to see a preview of all of those fields. Okay, so like the staff was good or what was bad, all those reviews that we have here. We'll click on next. Next thing is that we'll have to tag everything. Okay, so we will have to attach the tags, and all those tags are available in our tags column. So we'll select that particular column, and all of the information that we have there is a comma separated values. So we will select the comma based on what kind of information you have. Probably either you can select no separator, semicolon, or tab, and then just click on next, and then from here you will be able to see or review all those tags. So for example, if this is the statement that we have got, then the tags are care and facilities. Okay, so what we will do, we will take it next, and then we'll have to select the language. So we'll go ahead with English, click on next, and then we will train this particular model. So at least for training this particular model, it takes at least 1 or 2 minutes. So let us go back here, and now that you can see that we have at least this one is in the training. Okay, so probably what we can do is we can wait for a few seconds, and then we will see how we will be able to use everything here. Okay, so let us do that. We can keep refreshing, or at least it will show us the result whenever it is ready. Okay, all right. Okay, it is still training. Mm, okay, or maybe what we can do is until it is training, I can quickly show you this thing called as object detection. Okay, so again, same thing. What you can do is you can just click on build a model and select the object detection from here. And once you click on object detection, I will just select it as object detection, click on create. Once you click on create, at least you will have to give the 15 images of each tag which that particular object detection model should be able to recognize. So you can categorize those based on the domain. If you're not sure which domain to select, go ahead with the common objects. Click on next, and here you will be able to add the object names. Okay, so for example, if you have maybe a rose tea, then maybe cinnamon tea. Okay, so based on that, or maybe a mint tea, that is the other option that we have got here. And then just click on next. Once you do that, it will ask you to add the images. If you have images onto the SharePoint or any of the blob store, you'll be able to do that. And then what I will do is I will try to take those images from here and go to the training. I will just upload 2 images because at least it needs 15 images, but just I just want to show you how we can do it. So just click on that. Those are uploaded here. Click on next, and here we'll be able to train our model. So just select that particular thing and tag it as the T. So now that I'm uh, naming this as a rose tea, again you will be able to see the dotted marching ants marching ants beside this particular object. So you'll be able to add the value there. Okay, so if you don't see, probably just select that particular thing and then click on the click on that particular thing. So this one is the mint, so I will select with mint. So what will happen is that we will keep following through each of those, and then we'll be able to train our model. So I will not go into this training because I already have created those app which I will use. Okay, so what I will do is I will again switch back to my environment where I have everything. Let us go back to this AI builder and into the models one more time. And here you will be able to see, or at least until this open, let me again go back to the Power Automate flow here. So now that you can see that we have this at least green tea objection. We will not use this object detection because this was just for make you aware how this thing work. So at least we have uh, both the models ready. What we can do quickly is probably again get back to that healthcare feedback kind of a thing. First thing that we'll have to do is we'll have to publish this particular model. So once we click on publish, we'll be able to see that particular thing appearing there. So let us do the publishing. We can wait until it gets published. And again, once it is published, we'll be able to carry out the quick testing by clicking the quick test. Otherwise, we'll be able to use this model inside of Power Apps as well as Power Automate. So let's say we want to use it inside the Power Automate. So we'll just click on that Power Automate, and then probably we don't want to use any of the out of the box template, but maybe just the simple instant cloud flow, which is manually triggered. Okay, so I will again select manually triggered here, and I will just carry out tag analysis. Okay, Okay, I will click on create. Only thing that we want to do is we just want to analyze the feedback and then get the value. So I will again select the input, and for this text field, I will call it as a feedback. Next thing what we will do is once we click on this new button here, we do have a AI builder. Okay, so again in this particular AI builder, we have something called as a predict. So even if you can directly search for the predict, so here we have that predict. So once you click on predict, all of the models which are available from Microsoft as well as the one which you have created, for example, this healthcare feedback, you'll be able to see those. So just select that, again specify the uh, specify the language. We are using English only, so we'll say English. And in the text, I will specify this text which is coming from the above activity, which is feedback. So what I can do is I will just search for that feedback. I will add it here. We will just save it and then we will run it. So let us do that quickly. It is still saving. All right. And then we will just click on this test. We will test it manually and then I will just type it as a doctors were good, and then we will just run that flow. So based on what kind of a tags that we had defined, how we had trained that particular model, we'll be able to get those tags back from the intention of that particular user. So let it run through. It is still running. Okay. Okay, so the flow has run successfully, and from here you'll be able to see in the responses that here we have got at least 0.97% for staff. So that means it has correctly identified that we are trying to say something for the staff, which is the doctor. Let's get into the other part. So right now, let's say we are into the Power Apps here again. I will go to the apps, and then again from here I will click on new Canvas app. This time we will go for the um, object detection with phone. Okay, we'll click on that. We'll just click on create. So once you just click on create, we'll be able to get to it. And then let me just expand it a bit. And once you go to the insert, here we do have a AI builder. And in this AI builder, we'll be able to probably add the object detector. So once we add that particular object detector, again, we'll be able to choose our component. So it has already given that green tea detection kind of a component we have got. Once we run that, we'll be able to browse and then probably let's select any of the file file we have got, and then it will be able to analyze all of the things that we have got. So this one is a rose, this one is a cinnamon, and this one is the mint that we have got here. Okay, so this is how we'll be able to use that. Let me just quickly check if I got any of the other example that I can show you real quick. So again, I'm going back to the make.powerapps.com. All right, let me go to the apps. Okay, we have something for the text recognition. So probably I will go there, click on edit. So this is the built-in text recognition that we have got. So that means we'll be able to recognize the text from the images. So let it load. All right. So this is the thing. Again, what we'll be able to do is this text recognizer is coming from the insert menu. So again, once you go to the insert here, we have a AI builder. From here, you can add that text recognizer. So this is the control which will be placed here. And then again, we'll be able to process that text recognizer. For example, if that particular image contains um, various lines, all those lines will be able to show it onto the data table, or otherwise only the selected line from that particular image will be able to show it. So what I will do is I will just run this so that you will get a better idea. I will click on new image. For example, if you are using it onto your mobile, you will be able to click through and capture the image. I will go to here and then oh sorry, not this one. We have a text recognition, and here we have at least few images. So what I will do is I will click on open. Okay, so what it will do, it will try to analyze all of the text inside this, and you can see that all the text that we have got inside of that image is created as the normal. So this is something kind of an OCR. So again, let's say if I select this, the selected text will appear here. Okay, so this is how we'll be able to build the AI inside the Power Platform. Okay. All right. So with that, let's move to Power BI.
So Microsoft Power BI is a collection of software services, apps, and connectors that work together to turn you unrelated sources of data into coherent, visually immersive, and interactive insights. So let's have some of the introduction to Power BI. So Power BI can be a simple and fast, capable of creating quick insights from an Excel workbook or a local database. But the Power BI also robust and enterprise grade ready, not only for the extensive modeling and real-time analysis, but also for the custom development. Now let's see part of the Power BI. So Power BI consists of Microsoft Windows desktop application called the Power BI Desktop, and online SaaS software as a service called the Power BI Service, and the mobile Power BI apps that are available on any device with a native mobile BI apps for Windows, iOS, and Android. So these three elements are the desktop, the service, and the mobile apps are designed to let the people create, share, and consume business insight in the way that serves them or their roles and effectively. So the flow of the work in a Power BI, a common flow of the work in a Power BI begins in the Power BI desktop, where a report is created. That the report is then published to the Power BI service and finally shared, so that the users of the Power BI mobile apps can consume the information. The common flow of the activities are bringing the data into the Power BI desktop and create the report, publish the Power BI service, share the dashboard with others, view and interact with shared dashboard. So let's see building the blocks of Power BI. So everything you do in a Microsoft Power BI can be broken down into a few basic building blocks. So first is the visualization. Visualization sometimes also referred as a visual. So it is a visual representation of data like a chart, a color coded map, or other interesting things you can create to represent your data visually. Then we have a data sets. A data set is a collection of data that Power BI uses to create its visualization. So you can have a simple data sets that based on the single table from Microsoft Excel workbooks also. Then we have a reports. In a Power BI, a report is a collection of visualization that appears together one or more pages, just like any another report you might create for a self presentation or write for a school assignment. Yeah, then we have a dashboards. So where you are ready to share a report or a collection of visualizations, you create a dashboard, much like a dashboard in a car. A Power BI dashboard is a collection of visuals from a single page that you can share with the others. Then we have a tiles. So in a Power BI, a tiles is a single visualization on a dashboard, is the rectangular box that holds and then individual visuals. Then let's see how to get the data with the Power BI desktop. So the Power BI desktop is a free application for the PCs that lets you gather, transform, and visualize your data. So we will see how to find, collect, and data from the sources and how we can clean the or transformation. So you can also download the simple data from the link provided over here. Now let's see how to report the building environment. So in a Power BI desktop, you will begin to build the reports in the report view. So there are the ribbons and that displays the common tasks that are associated with the reports and visualization. Then we have a reports view and canvas where visualization can be created and arranged. Then the pages tab located amongst the bottom of the page, and the visualization page pane where you can change the visualization, and the fields pane where query elements and filters can be dragged. Then you have to collect the data. So when you start the Power BI desktop, you can choose the get the data from the ribbon of the home tab.
Okay, so now that we can see that we can be able to connect to the data from various systems. So we can directly take it from Excel or maybe from the SharePoint or any of the other sources. So quickly see how we can create those Power BI reports. So now that I have opened up this Power BI dashboard, we have logged into this Power BI dashboard. What we will do is we will click on this get data. These are all of the sources from where we will be able to get the data. Maybe once I click on more, it will show the list of all of the data sources to which we'll be able to connect and get the data. Simply that in this case, we just want to get it from Excel workbook, but based on your needs, we have various connectors available from where you will be able to get those data. So we'll select this Excel workbook. And then click on connect. Okay, so that Excel workbook is on my desktop itself. So let me go to that desktop and then just open up this financial sample. So this one is just kind of a financial sample which we are trying. to visualize with Power BI. So what we will do here is that we have various visualizations which is available to us out of the box. So now that this particular Excel has been loaded, and then we'll be able to select that particular financial sample that we want to go ahead. So this one has got two tabs, out of which I will select the financials, and this is the entire data that we have inside of it. So what we will do is we'll just click on load, and then it will load that particular data into the Power BI desktop. Once that data is loaded, we will be able to make some kind of an better visualization reports on top of that. So what we will do here is that we have various visualizations available onto the right hand side. So we'll go ahead with visualizer called as key influencer. Okay, so here somewhere we have got the key influencer. So this one is the key influencer until it loads. So this key influencer offers very powerful visualization. So it works by analyzing one of your fields against the several others. Okay, so what we will do is we will just probably add that key visualizers from here. Okay, and I will just expand it a bit. So from here, now that we have all of the fields appearing onto the right, so what we will do firstly that we want to analyze all of the profit that goes for our sales. So I will just select on profit. So we have that profit added here. Next thing is that we want to analyze that particular profit against all of the other things that we have got. Okay, so what I will do quickly is I will keep adding these sales, maybe COGS, and all those things are getting added here. Okay, you can observe that. Okay, a bit slow, but all those things are getting added to the explain by. So I will keep adding maybe country because we want to analyze everything except that particular profit, which is or or which are all the factors which are contributing to that particular profit. Okay, so we will try to get all the information. Maybe even we will get the product, we'll get the sales price, we'll get the segment under which that holds, even all of the units which are sold. So now that at least even though we don't have any kind of a data science kind of a background, we'll be able to visualize this entire information. So we have this information. Let's say, for example, if you want to go the reverse way, like what are the influences to your profit to go down, you'll be able to see that. Even this one will be a clickable report. So as you click through, you'll be able to see that it is generating all of those reports on its own. And based on what kind of a data we have, it is readily creating all those visualizations. So this one is a bar chart, this one is a scatter graph kind of a chart. So we'll be able to get all those things. So let's say, for example, let's proceed with this further and see what are the other services that we have got. So we have got maybe the Power BI service. It is the natural extension of the Power BI desktop. So you can use it to feature for uploading the reports, creating the dashboards, and all those things. Again, next thing that we have got here is the workspace. So with the Power BI, publishing and sharing your reports and dashboards is again a very much straightforward. You can publish your reports from Power BI desktop to the Power BI service, and all those will start appearing inside of your workspace, right? So with that, let's see like how we can do that. So we'll go to the file, we'll go to the publish, and then we'll just click on this publish to Power BI. So once we do it, it will ask us to save this particular report, which we will do. So let me just save it onto the desktop itself. I will just call it as a sales analysis. Let's click on save, and then this particular report is saved. Now that what it will do is it will be it will be available onto the we'll be able to make it available onto the Power BI service by uploading it to any of the workspace. So I will just simply go ahead with my workspace, click on select, and then this one will be published to our Power BI workspace. And then from here, we'll be able to directly open up that. So once I click on that particular link, we have that this entire link available through which even we'll be able to share with our colleagues, or even we'll be able to add it to Microsoft Teams or even onto the SharePoint. And this is the same kind of an interface that we have got onto the Power BI desktop, because Power BI desktop will be only applicable for the users who have got the premium licenses, but the viewing will be free with the other licenses. So we'll be able to directly give this particular thing by maybe exporting this report, or maybe giving a link to this report so that users can add that onto your SharePoint site, or maybe onto the Microsoft Teams. All right. So with that, let's see how we can secure and govern the Microsoft Power Platform environments.
So you'll understand how to improve your organization productivity without compromising your security posture while enabling the governance. So organization can subsequently create additional environments for developing testing and production purpose, and environments act as a security container for apps and flows to run with it. And every flow must be assigned to environment. Each license user belongs to the default environment. Now let's see the data loss prevention policies. So the DLP policies allow organization to construct the rules that permit and prevent the connectors from communicating within each other within the same flow. And Microsoft accomplished this by establishing a two data groups, business data only and no business data allowed.
So let's see how we can quickly create that data loss prevention policy or the DLP policy. So for that reason, what I will do is again, I will go back to this Power Platform portal. So, or sorry, Power Platform Admin Center. Okay, so from here we'll be able to go to the Power Platform Admin Center. Just click on the Admin Center from the settings menu. It will take us to the Power Platform Admin Center. So on this Power Platform Admin Center, you'll be able to see all of the environments that we have got. Just click from here the data policies, and from here we'll be able to define or create new policy. So I will just probably call this one as the maybe a Contoso data policy. Okay, and then just click on next. So what happens usually is that all of our connectors that we have got, all of the Office 65 connectors, uh, those have been transitioned into two things. First one is the business and then non-business. So let's say what we want to do is probably we want to take this my Office 65 Outlook into the business. So I will do that quickly. So now that we have business connectors in this business category, non-business connector in the non-business category. So what is mean by that is that business category won't be able to talk with the non-business category. Simple. So just click on next, and then if you want, you can add any kind of an connector pattern. Again, I will just get it added for all the environments, and then we will create that particular policy. Okay, so now that policy is being created, this policy is active. What we will do now is that again we will go back to the Power Automate, and then we will simply try to create a new flow. Okay, so let's say we will just create a flow here, and then we just want to get the information from a weather. Okay, so when the weather condition changes onto the MSN weather, I will just call it as a weather flow. Okay, and just click on create. So when we do it, at least we'll be able to search out for the location and all those things. So probably here I will just say simply London. This is the measurement that we have got, and then when it reaches to maybe 30 and here maybe Celsius, we want to uh, we want to put a mail. Okay, so we'll just select this mail, and then we will send this email notification. So once we do this, at least here we should get some kind of a warning. Okay, it is, I think the policy is still working, but probably okay, let us give one more try. We will go to the templates, and then again we will search for the weather kind of a thing. Okay, oh sorry. So again we have got weather kind of a thing. So here probably again let's try to search out something which has got the Outlook environment, Outlook involvement. Okay, we don't have anything here. Let me just search for certain. Okay, okay, all right. Okay, let us go ahead with this one, and then probably this is some kind of a recurrence that we want to do just to get the weather kind of an information. So what we will do is even we have the long flow from here, and what we'll do is whenever we get the weather forecast, we will add action, and then probably from here we want to email all those things to our colleagues. So once we do it, even I think the email policy hasn't triggered, but when the DLP policy has got set up, we will be able to see some kind of an error here that we won't be able to send this kind of an information. Let me just try with send email kind of a thing. Okay, so okay, here we do have this Office 65 email, and let me try to do the send email v2, for example. Now that you can see that we have a error in the flow checker, and this one is because this Contoso data policy that we have created. which restrict your business connector, which is your Office 65 email connector, to talk with the non-business kind of an connector, which is MSN Weather. So that means you won't be able to pass on the information from the business connector to the non-business kind of an connectors. All right. So this is simply we'll be able to create the DLP policies to have a establishment between how what kind of an connectors can talk to each other.
A Center of Excellence is COE is an organization drives innovation and improvement that brings together like-minded people with similar business goals to share a knowledge success while at the same time providing standard consistency and governance to the organization. Now let's see how to building a block. So COE starter kit is shaped in multiple components. The core components, did components provide what you need to get started with the setting up a COE. They sync all your resources into database table and build admin apps on top of that to help you to get more visibility of the app flows and makers that exist in your organization. So additionally, apps like DLP editor, setup app permissions. Then the governance components. After you have become familiar with your environment and resources, you might start thinking about the audit and compliance process for your apps. You might want to gather additional information about your apps from your makers or audit specific connectors or the app usage, the apps and the flows that are part of these solutions help you to get started. Then we have nurture components, an essential part of establishing a COE in nurturing your makers and creating an internal community. Now let's see standalone add-ons. So the theming components. A frequent ask from the organization each way in which makers creates an apps is the ability to apply themes specifically. Then the application lifecycle management components. The application lifecycle management components are intended to provide a power platform maker guidance or creating a healthy LM practice for their solution as a part of their overall DevOps strategies. Then the innovation backlog components. The innovation backlog solution contains the assets that are relevant to the everyone in the organization.
So basically, this COE starter kit will just allow you to design the governance around your applications which you are building with Power Platform. So for that reason, what I will do is I will simply switch back to the environment where I have COE starter kit installed. Okay, so this is the place where I have COE starter kit installed. So this one has got multiple solutions which will have to get it deployed, including the core components, audit logs, nurture components, and the governance components that we have thought of. Okay, so all those things are deployed here. Quickly check like what are the apps which are available to us through which we'll be able to use those inside of our Power Platform environment. So there are various apps available, but I just want to quickly walk through a few of the apps which are available to us very easily. So first one that we have got here is this DLP editor, which will obviously help us to see all of the DLP policies that we have created, and then we'll be able to make edits to it from here. So it will just load up. Okay, all right. So this way we'll be able to see at least all of the. Okay, let me just try it one more time. DLP editor V2. Okay, so through this, at least it will give us all of the DLP policies that we have got on each of the environment. Looks like some issue with this particular app being installed on my machine, but definitely it will show all those things. Second thing, what we have got here is this app catalog. So so through this particular app catalog, we'll be able to see, okay. Oh, right. So this one is falling through me again to the data protection policies that we have got, because now that I have that business and non-business kind of a category, probably I won't be able to show this demo until I remove that. But again, maybe we can just walk through those. So we have again few of the other things like set app permissions. For example, if you want to set any of the application permissions, or if, for example, if you want to set any of the flow permissions directly from here, because it is always very much tedious to go through all of the apps that you have created as well as all of the flows that you have created. So right now I won't be able to do it because of the data loss prevention policy that we just had created. So I will have to take it off. But again, it will take maybe 15 minutes to get into the effects. Again, we have one more offering from this one is the Power BI report. So this will give you the entire Power BI report of all of your environments as well as all of the things that you have installed there. So let me just go there and This is a COE dashboard kind of an report that we have available from COE Starter Kit. So from here, we'll be able to see all of those reports which which it will build. So what happens in the background that it has got various flows which are available, and then through those flows it tries to get the information. Again, this is the same thing that we since have that DLP policy set. I'm not able to get the content from here, but this will show the report for your entire environment, again based on the user who has created those apps. For example, if there are any kind of an orphan apps, you will be able to take the actions on it, right? So that was just a quick overview of those COE starter kit. And then again, these are all of the references that you have got. For example, if you want to prepare for this PL-100 exam, so this is the certification link from where you will be able to opt in for that examination. And then again, I will encourage you to follow that entire Microsoft Learn path to go through all those things, and then again work on your PL-100 kind of a thing. So with that, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity, and wish you all the best with your PL-100 exam.
Thank you and all the best.